Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Don't you want to sound rich?
Welcome to episode 39 of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. I'm your host, Floyd Johnson, and surprise, back from a bit of a hiatus, it is All Elite Tiffany. How you doing, Tiffany?
I am great, and I am so excited to be back. Thank you.
We are so excited to have you back. Some people might have been expecting Amy this week, but Amy unfortunately has a sick daughter that she is taking care of, being the best mom in the world. So Tiffany was like, hey, I can be on the show this week. And I was like, well, be on the show this week. So we're very excited. We're very excited to have Tiffany on to talk about wrestling. Before we get started with all the week, I just want to start the show by reminding you this episode of All Things Elite is brought to you by Powerslam TV. Powerslam TV, where you get access to over 4,000 hours of content from over 110 of your favorite wrestling brands from countries all around the globe, right onto your laptop and mobile devices. If you use the code Social Suplex, you get the first month free. So the big news of the week before we get to the reviews is that AEW, our group in Dynamite, we're not even talking about the show yet, but the ratings came in and we got back on track. AEW total for viewers 851,000 to NXT 845,000. The demos were close. For all of you don't know, demos were close and everything. I believe NXT won in 18-34 for the first time, and girls like 12-18. It's so weird how those things break down. But overall, AEW won. What are your thoughts, Tiffany?
For me, I was just happy to see the number way up, and I think a lot of the factors, I know Cody says excuses are for assholes, but I think there are genuine factors for both companies, not just making excuses for AEW, but just that it was the holiday and this and that. I heard that the DVR numbers last week for Dynamite pretty much brought it almost the same as NXT, so the loss wasn't nearly as bad as it looked. But I'm just happy that the numbers were up. The slight win over NXT is a bonus, but for me, just seeing them back in those numbers where to be consistent with what they have been and just to show that it probably was the holiday, because that's a huge jump from the previous week. I was just happy to see those numbers back up, and I'm sure they were too.
Yes, and I definitely agree. I am not one of those people. Like, I don't mind if AEW was doing over 1 million, let's say AEW was doing 1 million and NXT was doing 1,000,250 or something like that, and they were consistently winning. As long as AEW had 1 million, you would hear no complaints from me. I don't really care if NXT has more as long as AEW is doing well.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I mean, I definitely am Team AEW clearly, but I'm not rooting for anyone to fail. And at the end of the day, all I care about is seeing AEW succeed. So definitely just happy to see the numbers bounce back.
Yeah, because if both numbers were crap and we were in front of them, I wouldn't care. I'm like, I need these numbers to get higher.
Exactly.
It's not just about beating NXT. It's fun to beat NXT because you get to kind of rub that in a little bit, and I am.
It's a good bonus, like I said. It's definitely a nice bonus.
I'm a good guy, but I can have my petty moments.
Exactly. We're human.
Yeah. So
don't tell me they don't have them too. We know they do. Believe me.
Yeah. So it is fun to needle. Oh, I need to say this before we really get started. After the show, after we go through all our things, there is an interview with the rapper. His name is TZ Scott, or Antoine. His real name Antoine Moore, but he goes by TZ Scott or Monteasy. He does the theme song for Sammy G. He also released a song about Cody called Cody, and that's why.
It's so good.
And it's so good, and that's why I decided to interview him. And then I found out he is actually, when Big Swole's song debuts, that'll be his also. So, it's something that I want you to listen to. It's a little different than what we usually do, but we're going to give you your normal show where we talk about all things Elite, and then the interview will go on right after it. I was joined by One Nation Radio's Rich Latta. We had a great conversation. We had a lot of information on it. I actually recorded that part before we recorded this part of the show. I think you'll just get a kick out of it, and it's one of those things. It's not really time sensitive, so if you want to listen to this part and listen to that other part later, do that, whatever you want to do, but you'll be getting information. You'll have his links in the bio. Again, his name's TZ Scott, but if you're looking on like YouTube and stuff, it'll be Monteasy. So looking forward to, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I
can't wait to hear it too. That sounds awesome.
Yes. So, Tiffany, what we're going to look at first, we're going to start the week like it does on Monday. This week, instead of being the Elite, even on my recap, I have it as being the Elite, but it's actually being the Inner Circle. You did not watch it, which is okay, because it really, like I told you before we even started the show, it didn't further any storylines. You didn't, miss anything. But just to go through real quick, I've just made some bullet points. So we got Leva we open with Leva reading to Santana, Ortiz, and Sammy G a book called Playing with Boys. I don't know what the significance of this was.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yes, she's reading excerpts from that book, and then so we get to the next scene. They kind of do an opening, get to the next scene, and Santana is upset that Juan Ho is leaving a group BTS. Now, I don't know anything about, I know it's K-pop, but the joke is Santana thinks Juan Ho is a girl.
Oh my God.
Yes, and he's like, why is she leaving the group? And Ortiz like, Juan Ho is a man. He's like, he's been a man this whole time? Yes, Juan Ho is a man. And he's like,
no.
Yeah, so it was a very funny, confusing segment. It reminded me of an old episode of Family Guy when Quagmire found out Taylor Hanson was a guy. So
I know Leva loves K-pop, so I'm sure she had something to do with that reference too.
Yes, your twin first made an appearance on the show too.
Yes, my purse twin loves her some K-pop. So.
Yes, yeah, the purse made an appearance on the show.
I did see that. And I was like, there's the BB-8 bag, so that's cool.
The thing they learned this week from hanging with Leva is to not kidnap people, and then they took a Polaroid selfie and they let Leva go. They then stole her phone and went to pawn it. You get the Inner Circle thing. It was in their circle. In their circle. They said they don't know what to do. They usually do a bit. Santana says he doesn't watch this show ever. Ortiz does an amazing super kick where his foot barely leaves the ground, and then they showed it in slow motion. That was pretty funny. Jake Hager is jealous that Sammy G is in the standee with Chris Jericho hugging him, and Jake's editing the show, and Sammy is annoying him, and and of course Jake is doing that he doesn't talk bit.
Sammy was annoying someone. I can't believe it.
I can't believe it. So Jake just gave him a look and he ran away. It was hilarious.
Oh, man.
Then we get Inner Circle mailbag and a few of the questions that were asked. Sammy G, what's it like to be a god? When will Santana take the rest of the Inner Circle to Puerto Rico? Santana gets very excited about talking about going to Puerto Rico. Opinions on the milk first, and I've got to ask Tiffany, milk first? Are you a cereal first or milk first person?
Cereal first.
Cereal first. I didn't even like the idea that this is a debate is so weird to me.
I feel like Flip Gordon's probably a milk first guy, I'm sure. So.
Sammy G is a milk first person. He was the only one in the group. And it was funny because Ortiz was like, that's not happening in my house. He was very passionate.
I would be right there with him. That would be a no. Like, if you're going to have cereal in my place, you're going cereal first.
Yes, he was very passionate. They asked Jake when he was going to wrestle. He just kind of stared at the screen, and then everybody was like, that's what I was thinking too. And that's who's going to be your first opponent? It was hilarious because we have no idea who that is. Nick then merch freaked, made the lights go out, and he merch freaked the Inner Circle to where they dropped the camera and ran away. Brandon and Matt came and picked up the camera, and he's like, I wonder what happened to him. And then Nick does this little thing where he's staring, and he's like, merch freak. And that's how the show goes off. So, yeah, we found out Santana is very afraid of Ghost. So that's how that happened. And I was like, that is hilarious. It's like, I don't mess around with Ghost. All right, well, that was being the Inner Circle. Hopefully we get back to being the Elite next week.
Yes.
And maybe get more teases for things to come. And let's see. All right, so now we're going to go into the AEW Dark recap. AEW Dark, this is from Tuesday, December 3rd. This is one was shot in Chicago on November 27th. We start off, and this is just a match recap. We start off with, before the matches started, we get a clip of Nyla beating up Shauna at the meet and greet before the show. This is significant because Shauna was supposed to be on commentary with Excalibur. Since she was injured, Nyla took her place, and then hilarity ensued. What did you think of Nyla on commentary?
I think Nyla's hilarious, so I loved it.
Yes, I thought it was very funny, and every time he said duty, she said, you said duty.
Yeah, she is just so funny. Like, I don't even think she realizes how funny she is, just how her personality, even if she's supposed to be this heel, like, she doesn't know how to not be funny. So I thought she was great.
I thought she played a perfect heel color person on this episode.
Definitely.
I was like, with just a little more time, she could do that like permanently if she wanted to. Cause I thought
it was great.
Yeah. So first match we get Jimmy Havoc. He pins Brandon Cutler, who had on an amazing jacket that was done by his wife. Very much, I don't know what video game character that was, but I thought the jacket was dope. And
oh my gosh, it was. Denise nailed it. She does so great on everybody's gear, but I thought, she always, I don't want to say that she does lesser on anyone's because she's phenomenal, and I'm always completely awed of her work, but you could tell that was a labor of love. Like, when you look at the photos of that jacket on Twitter and in the pictures that they posted, and just saw it, even on the show, like, goodness, you could just tell it was a labor of love, and it was just gorgeous. Like, her ability is out of this world, the stuff she does, and that was definitely on very top of the list of the ones she's done so far.
Yes, and I have a thought. I'm not saying anything's wrong. I thought the jacket and the look was great. I would have liked him to save it for a bigger match.
I agree with that. Yes. I feel like, his time in AEW is just getting started, so that would have been a really cool debut for a bigger match, but I'm sure he was just really excited to put it out there. But yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah, this is like, I just thought it was so dope, but it was just like, well, you're just kind of about to lose really quickly, and he did.
Right, yeah.
He lost
of course, Havoc.
Havoc does his thing, and and in the middle of the match, he brings out his staple gun, and the referee threatens him, and then he gets back in the ring, and of course, he hits him with the acid rainmaker and finishes him. Then he staples a $10,000 check to Cutler's head.
He's like, "Here's my fine. You can have because as we know, he's getting fined if he uses the staple gun. What is it? Isn't it like 10,000 every time he uses it? Supposedly,
yes.
So there you go. He has absolutely no worries when it comes to that. If he wants to staple you, he'll just staple the $10,000 check right to your head. So.
Yes, and they had like a little backstage stabbing when he was talking to someone from management, and he said something which I thought was perfectly poignant to his cause. He said, "You knew who you signed." It's like, you know.
And I love that, because that's the absolute truth. You don't sign Jimmy Havoc and expect him to not do things like that.
Yes, it's like, I'm completely on Jimmy Havoc's side on that one. I was like, you know.
Yeah, I've got to agree.
Yeah. Then we get a Dark Order vignette. In this case, it was him, the character. I always forget his name. But I think his real name's Louis. I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know that he has a character name or not.
But you see him taking the little flyer off, and it looks like he's walking into the woods to, as they say, join the Dark Order. But yeah, I'm only covering this because these vignettes are getting more and more, and the story is progressing. But this is him actually thinking about going to a meeting, or he actually went to a meeting, and he heard Evil Uno giving his speech, and he's listening. He hasn't decided at this point if he's going to join, but he's listened. Then we get Shawn Spears in a match with the amazing Sonny Kiss, and I actually thought this
Sonny.
Yes, I thought this match was really good. What did you think of it?
I love that match. I think, obviously Shawn Spears is he's excellent, and I absolutely love Sonny. I think Sonny he's just his style, has such a gymnastic, I don't know if he has a gymnast background, but if he doesn't, you would think he would, because of the way he can, just the things he does, the way he flips the, what's the word I'm looking for, where you can, I can't think of the word, but just his ability to, bend and do things, it's insane. Yes, and it makes him have such a style that differs from other people and stands out. And I just thought they worked really well together, considering too that their styles are so different. And I just really enjoyed it. I didn't love at the end when they attacked Sonny after, but the match was awesome. And then I don't know if you saw that Shawn Spears no heel remark, literally put Sonny over on Twitter after, which I thought was so cool.
He said the better person won, but he'd wrestle Sonny Kiss any day. Sonny Kiss amazingly flexible, almost like a contortionist.
Flexible, thank you.
Almost like a contortionist, and the whole twerking thing. People aren't supposed to be able to move like that.
Yes. You see, Shawn Spears tried to do something, but just kind of flexed his butt, and it was pretty hilarious.
Yes.
Not quite the same as Sonny.
Yeah, and he was, the big thing is that he so amazingly talented, and it's just it made the match look good. Shawn Spears, held his own, but Sonny Kiss is like one of those people, when he wrestles, you definitely you pay attention. It's like you're not doing anything else when Sonny Kiss is on the screen.
He knows how to command that audience and make you pay attention, like you said. Absolutely.
Yes. Shawn Spears wins with his running Death Valley Driver. They then Spears attacked Sonny Kiss after the match, and him and Tully spike pile drive Sonny Kiss on the floor. On the floor, and Sonny had to be helped to the back. Then we get a
But you
Jurassic.
can't hate on Tully getting involved because, come on, that's pretty cool to see Tully get involved, even if it's on Sunny. I was not loving that, but it's still kind of cool. And I'm glad that Tully's still with Spears. I just think it's such a great pairing.
Yes, when it comes to Tully, it's like I said, it takes me back to my childhood. Everybody remembers Tully and Arn had this little run in the WWE, about 2-year run as the Brainbusters, and that was their finisher, the Spike Piledriver. So seeing Tully on the other end of the Spike Piledriver just, warms my soul. I just didn't like that it happened to Sonny Kiss,
Exactly, but it was a treat for sure.
Yes, it was definitely a treat. Then we had Penner and Ray getting interviewed, and they were talking about how they're best tag team, and CD jumped them by himself, and he got pulled back by Frankie K. This sets up Penta versus Christopher Daniels on Dynamite, which we'll talk about later. We then get a Jurassic Park vignette. Jurassic Express.
Express.
Vignette. I don't really understand these vignettes, but they are funny.
I know. I don't know if we're meant to understand. We just have to enjoy them because they're really cute and something about them is just endearing. So I love them.
So then we get Proud and Powerful versus Marco and Jungle Boy as Jurassic Express this time, that version of it. Proud and Powerful beat them with a power bomb rolled up into a knee to the face. I guess since Marco and Jungle Boy has been doing the tag team, I don't think Luchasaurus is all the way recovered from his hamstring injury. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. He's there because he's definitely a draw. People like seeing him, but clearly he's not in the position to compete, or I think he would be for sure.
The things he can still do with that hamstring being like that are pretty impressive. So,
he's a 65-million-old dinosaur. So
yes,
he's tough. He's tough. So.
After the match, Sammy G came down, and then we're recording his vlog, and then they attacked Marco and Jungle Boy. Luchasaurus came out to defend him. Hager and Luchasaurus finally get physical for the first time. The Inner Circle gets in, and they jump Luchasaurus and get the advantage on him. And then the Young Bucks come down and make the save, and that's how Dark ends.
Another great episode.
Another great episode of Dark. It's one of those things that it is like I remember Raw used to have. Then there used to be like Superstars, and it was like Superstars was like nothing matches that you didn't want to watch, but you would watch if somebody you really liked were on there. That's not Dark. It is really a supplementary show to Dynamite. You really do need to watch it because storylines are advanced on Dark. Plus, people that don't get a lot of in-ring work get more in-ring work on Dark.
Absolutely. And I said weeks ago, when it comes to Dark, it's not a B show. I just look at it as more AEW. And, with the 2-hour time slot on TNT, it's impossible to get everyone on the show without giving really pointless matches that are short and just done for the sake of getting people on TV as far as on TNT. So with it being, it's 2019, YouTube is enormous. I mean, people literally make their living off of doing YouTube videos. If you go back and look at the Dark viewing, I mean, most of them, after being up for so long, hit almost 1 million views each. So clearly people are watching, and I think it's just a great idea to do, not only for people who don't get on the show as much, but they also put people like the Bucks. Next week we have Kenny. I mean, it's not like it's just, like you said, when WWE would have, superstars or Jacked or Metal or whatever, they were all very pointless shows, and every 6 months you might tune in for one person that you really liked that was randomly on there. So with Dark, it's definitely, like you said, it's supplemental to Dynamite. It furthers storylines. The wins and losses matter just as much as they do on there as they do on Dynamite. So it's absolutely something that you definitely should tune into, and it's just always a great show. I mean, I'm always, it's like when I'm just so ready for it to be Wednesday, I'm like, oh, but it's Tuesday, and I get an hour extra of AEW, so it helps hold me over till Dynamite.
Yes, and for those out there, imagine if you're out there, you found a way to listen to Dynamite every week. But I am big on, the word of mouth thing. And if your friends don't have cable, they cut the cord or whatever, they do generally have the internet, whether it's on their phone or whatever. And you know what? You can get on Dark. They do keep you pretty much updated on what happened to Dynamite. It's a great way to feed into, AEW as you're trying to get somebody prepared. When we were in Baltimore, we were outside waiting on an Uber, and a guy basically said he didn't have cable, and we pointed him to Dark. So remember to do that. If you listen to the show, remember, hey, that's a great way to dip your toe into the water. Just tell people, hey, see if this is the way you like wrestling presented. Of course, we'd rather them watch Dynamite, but hey, if you can get them started by watching AEW Dark, you definitely want to do that.
Definitely.
Yes. Now,
and that guy wasn't messing around. He literally pulled his phone out and subscribed to AEW on YouTube right in front of us. So that guy wasn't just BSing with us. Like, he was literally like, oh, I didn't know that, and got out and subscribed right in front of us. So that was pretty cool.
And that's what I tell people. You will be surprised because of how you could control your media and things like that. How many people don't know about AEW that used to watch wrestling back in the late 90s, early in 2000s, and they quit watching for some reason, and all they need to know is that this exists. So I even said, I'd always know I sound like a cheerleader, but I don't mind sounding like a cheerleader.
I feel the same way.
And to tell
as you know,
tell everyone start them on Dark, start them on whatever you can, just like let them watch it. They don't like it. I mean, everyone has their own taste.
Elaborating on that, I think, one thing with me, I know that I'm very vocal. I literally never go to work without my AEW pin on my shirt. I've started several conversations because of it, either people that already knew about it and wanted to talk about it, or people that just were like, what is that? And I tell them. And I think it's, one thing that Floyd just said that's so important is that there's a lot of wrestling fans out there that are not aware of AEW. Despite the incredible advertising, you still have people who don't realize that there's more than WWE on their TV, people who probably have cable and just don't know, and maybe are that lapsed, wrestling fans. So I always am encouraging people, if you love AEW, which I know so many of you do, to love it loudly and to talk about it, and not just on social media with people who are already watching, but like Floyd said, to talk about it openly all the time, be that cheerleader, because I guarantee you there are still so much untapped, of a fan base out there that just aren't aware yet. And like Floyd said, if they don't have cable, then put them, direct them in the direction of AEW Dark. I also think too, everyone, or most of you, I think, know Jackie, one of my dearest friends. I actually got her into the Elite by just constantly talking about them. So she finally binge-watched BTE, and she's been hooked ever since. And now AEW is her world like it is mine. And I think, that's another way to do it, is just be like, hey, go watch BTE. Because I don't think, unless you're, I don't know if you're breathing, how you could watch BTE and not laugh and just fall in love with the guys. And if that doesn't make you want to start watching AEW, then I can't even imagine. So I think that, between Dark, BTE, and then the actual Dynamite, I mean, there's so many ways to get introduced to AEW, and I think it's just really important to broaden that conversation beyond just the people that already watch, because I guarantee you, it's so funny to me whenever I talk about wrestling at work or with customers, how many people are like, oh man, I used to watch wrestling, and I don't know, I think if I had $1 for every time I heard that, I'd be rich. And I tell them, well, you should check out AEW. And it's crazy how many people at some point in their life loved pro wrestling, maybe fell out of it, but maybe would love to get back into it if they had something different. So I definitely think it's just super important to talk about it and tell people, not just within your inner circle, to watch, because I think you can easily create new fans just by mentioning that AEW exists to people who may not know that.
Yeah, because it's what I've always noticed is I don't want, and I'm not, and this is not an insult. It's gonna come out like I don't really want to take fans from NXT. If you like WWE and NXT and that's your style of how you present it, watch it. I want new fans.
Definitely.
I want new fans.
Yes, I agree.
I want the lapsed
because they're out
fans.
there. They're out there.
I want the people that don't watch
that
wrestling
was their
anymore.
target all along.
Yeah, I want the people that don't watch wrestling anymore. That's why I was like, when I see that number, and I'm like, I don't want it to come, when you look at the number and it's the same 2 million, 1.5 million people watching the show. No, I want new fans. I want to introduce them to, I want people that haven't watched in a long time to introduce them to wrestling as they may remember it. And I think that's what AEW brings to it. And like I said, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. I do think that's how, like, when people's like, are you an expert show? I'm like, I'm only an AEW expert as in I care and I watch everything more than once. That's the only way. Otherwise, this is pretty much a fan podcast. So yeah,
definitely.
When I fan out for AEW, that's the point. I like it. If I didn't like the show, I wouldn't do this show. If I didn't like Cody and the Bucks and Kenny Omega, and I didn't want to see Tony Khan's pro wrestling, I wouldn't do this show. I just wouldn't. I can't.
Yeah, and that's the same with me with doing this and Twitter. I mean, I don't gain anything from the amount of love I show for AEW. Other than that, it's because of how much I do love it and that I genuinely care. That's where I get something out of it. It's not like Floyd said, we're not a paid podcast. I'm not paid to make my tweets or my videos. It's literally just straight from the heart, passion that I believe in this so much, believe in the people behind it, and love what they're doing so much that I feel compelled to do what I do.
Yeah, that's like this passion that you hear from me. It cannot be faked at all. It just can't. If I didn't care,
absolutely not.
If I didn't care, you would hear it. I promise.
Yeah, I don't know how to fake things or half-ass them. So with AEW, you get genuine Tiffany, and since I don't know how to half-ass it, you get over-the-top, ridiculously excited Tiffany, and that's it. And it's all because of how much I really love AEW. So yeah, like Floyd, I couldn't do any of what I do if I wasn't really feeling it. And you would be able to tell if I was forcing myself in any way. So yeah, and I think that just speaks so widely of the core AEW fan base that has been following it, because it is really just such a huge passion for it, and it's awesome to see. So.
This is a perfect segue, because last week I did not like it. I did not like AEW Dynamite. I'm being 100%. Me and Tiffany were talking about it on Twitter and DM, and we were like, that didn't feel like AEW Dynamite. The Chicago show, I said, it just didn't feel like it.
I did not hate it, but it felt weird. It felt weird. It didn't start with the match. If you watch my cheap plug, my latest Heart of the Elite with Tiffany, I put up yesterday, I said it there. I said it did not kick off with a match, and that set the tone for the night, and it was just a weird night overall. It was not, they more than bounced back, which we'll get into this week. But it definitely had a different vibe in Chicago. Something felt off all night, and I don't know if it was just that setting the tone of not starting with a banger of a match, but something was off.
Yes, and that, again, perfect segue into this week's account, because this week it felt like Dynamite again. It got back to Dynamite. We started with a 6-man tag match. The first out was Sammy Guevara and Proud and Powerful. Santana Ortiz, Proud and Powerful, came out with Sammy G. And then the Bucks came out. And then Dustin came out, and he showed off his uniform for the night. He had the Young Buck tassels on. He was dressed like a buck, and then he did the flex and lean thing.
And he even had a fluorescent burst in within the gear. It was so great. And I I meant to find out if it was Denise or Sandra who did it, but whoever did it, that was just phenomenal.
And it's awesome because Dustin is 50, and he could be a stodgy old veteran if he wanted to be, and be like, this isn't real wrestling, and never have fun. But no, he has went the complete opposite way. He is just diving into all things new, and he just looks like he's having a great time. If he didn't mention he was 50, I don't think most wrestling fans, like most new fans, would even know.
No, definitely not. Nothing about him is 50 except for him telling us he's 50.
Yeah, so he's the oldest person in this match by like 15 years, and you could not tell. He kept up with them in every way. I think Dustin was like the MVP of this match because he was just like, he just had fun. He did the thing off the top, the diving cross body. He did a destroyer.
Yeah.
He did a destroyer. He did his I think it's working into his show, working his performance. He did the thing where he gets tired from doing all the power slams and then pulls off the power slam again. I like every spot I remember from this match, which I remember a lot of spots, but every spot was Dustin.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he went out there and just absolutely shined, and I think that the Bucks were probably just so happy and honored to team with him that they were fine with him, which, of course, because he's great. And I just, like you said, he could be one of two people. He could be that 50-year-old guy who just refuses to move forward and evolve with wrestling as it evolves, but that's not Dustin. I mean, he's so passionate about helping everybody in the AEW locker room from wrestling standpoint to promos. He just loves the business. He loves Cody so much. So anything he could do to help something that is, Cody's, and obviously not just Cody's, but just because that's his brother. I mean, and then he goes out there in the ring and hasn't lost a step. I know people chant, "You still got it" at him, but he never left. He's always been there. He's never lost it. He is absolutely phenomenal. And it was so special to see him teaming with the Bucks.
Yeah, I think people just forgot he had it because WWE had him benched for so long.
Absolutely, that's the truth. And I mean, and it's a great. I mean, I get the chant. It's just always been one of those ones. Like I'll go back to when one of the many times Chris Jericho left and came back to WWE, and I believe he had someone in the Walls of Jericho, and they were chanting, "You still got it," and he goes, "I never lost it, baby," and it just was like a moment I'll never forget. And whenever I think of that chant towards certain people, like Dustin's one, where I'm just like, no, he's never lost it. He's always had it.
Yes, absolutely. He even says that he's in the best shape of his life. He's moving like he's never moved. And like when they say he's going to be in a match, I completely look forward to it just because he's bringing it. And it looks like he's just it's certain people, and I'm not going to say everybody in the roster, but certain people that just looks like they're having a good time. And Dustin just looks like he is in having a good time doing this. Even when he's losing and getting attacked, it looks like you can almost see the expression of smile on his face. The end of this match came with an ending I'll never forget. Dustin and Matt both had people up in tombstone positions. Sammy Guevara was laying on the ground, and they did an Indy Taker into a diving senton. Nick pinned Sammy G for the 1, 2, 3, and that's how the match ended. It was really, really cool.
It was a great way to start off Dynamite. This is exactly what Dynamite should start off with, is a match where right off with the wrestling, because for us, I think, you have your counterpart of BTE, and I encourage everyone to watch Being the Elite because that's where you get most of your story development. And then they did a really great job this week, which as we continue with the show review, we'll talk about how they did a great way of sprinkling in story development and not taking away from the action. It was just so well done this week. It was perfect. But, starting off Dynamite with that match, I mean, the AEW fans, we crave amazing pro wrestling, and that's what AEW offers. So when Dynamite kicks off with a match like this, and especially with someone where you hear the Bucks theme, and that just gets the crowd going, it's just such a perfect way to set the tone for the night, and this did the work exactly what it should have done.
Yeah, they have a formula. People they wonder if, certain people, if there's a formula for great wrestling. AEW has a formula. The formula is starting off with a great match. I think the whole tone of the show, if you look, this was the 10th show, and if you look at the 10th show, the ones where they started off with a hot match with someone with a big entrance tend to, go and people view it more favorably. Even going back to the first episode when Cody was the entrance that started it. It was a big entrance. It was a star. It was a good match to get your blood pumping, and it gets the crowd, even the casuals, it gets them on their feet and ready to watch the rest of the show. Now,
definitely.
Now, again, we go in second match. We go straight into Ray Phoenix and Trent Beretta. So tell me what you think on my idea on this one. I think, because right after Ray and Trent, it was the Cody promo. I feel when you start with that hot of a match, you should have probably went to the Cody promo, then the Ray Phoenix and Trent, because I don't think the crowd was ready for Ray Phoenix and Trent yet.
Yeah, I could see that. I thought the match was great. I feel like the crowd was into it, and I think audio issues were partially to blame. Towards the beginning of the show for not hearing how into it the crowd was. But I do think that maybe it would have been cool to split it up. But I honestly didn't even notice that it was any less of as far as the crowd response. So for me, I didn't even pick up on that.
Hey, and that might have been because I heard this, that only the people watching on TNT had audio issues.
Yeah, there definitely were some audio issues.
Yeah, if you're on Fight TV or foreign markets, there wasn't. So it wasn't anything AEW was doing. It was the TNT feed that was causing the audio issues. So, and I was just letting everyone know that we did notice
That's good to know. People were freaking out about it.
Yeah, we did notice it. We're not ignoring it. We just found out it wasn't AEW's fault. So what can you do?
Exactly. Yeah. It's not their fault, so we're not going to discuss it. But yeah, I do think that, because of that issue on TNT's end, that there were a little bit of where the commentary came off a little louder and the crowd sounded quiet. But if you watch the crowd and listen to it, even though it just audio wasn't matching up, like as far as to be equal to the commentary, you could tell they were super into it. Like I said, I definitely think that it would have been just as fine to do Cody's segment next and then have the other match, but I don't think it really hurt anything having it booked the way it was booked.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's more of it's not a complaint, it's a critique. It's just like, sometimes after those hot matches, it's like, okay, not necessarily a cool down, but because I think the Cody thing would have kept people up. It would have been it actually probably would have elevated it to a level instead of
keep them on a high and then give them another great match. Yeah. And you noticed, I don't know if you noticed, but I think it was JR when they put up the graphic saying that match was next. JR said, "Don't sleep on this match. It has the potential to be the best one-on-one match of the night." So him even saying that was like, guys, this match is going to be great. Like, so not that he was saying it wouldn't be, but I don't know, just the fact that he said that stood out to me. That Don't sleep on this match. It's definitely, obviously we just started with the Bucks and Gold, or not Goldust, but Dustin, the Natural against Santana Ortiz and Sammy. Such a banger of a match that, even JR was like, don't sleep on the next one. So it might have been better placed after the Cody segment.
Yes, and like I said, Ray Phoenix is one of my favorite wrestlers in the company. Honestly, I would probably put him right after Cody for me. He's just he's just such a dynamic wrestler. Every time I see him in the ring, he does something I've never seen before, which someone that's been watching wrestling for 30 years, it's hard to see things I haven't seen before. So I think he's just super talented, and I thought it was a good match. And like I said, now that you pointed out that it was audio issues, I was like, oh, okay, because I'd never heard a crowd that quiet for a Ray Phoenix match.
Yeah, and I think because we were both watching on TNT, that's something that we probably, unfortunately, had a slight part. And I turned my volume way up because I was like, it was bothering me. I was like, I know it's louder. It should be louder than this. So, but even still, yeah, I think it could have been maybe a little bit better to go after Cody. But, yeah, it's still just, like you said, it was a good match. Phoenix is great. I think Trent's great. I like seeing them showcased because they have a lot of potential. That's both the best friends. And so, yeah, I thought it was a really good match.
Yeah, and Ray Phoenix defeated Trent with his spinning muscle buster they call the Black Fire Driver. So he gets the pin. He is now 2-0 as a singles wrestler. Trent Beretta goes to 1-1 because he lost to Penta, and then he lost to Ray, and then he beat Penta. So 1-1 and 2-0. Then we get the Cody promo. Yeah, this promo. So I
have very, very little to say about this. No, I'm kidding.
I heard some people, like, I listened to one of the other AEW podcasts I listened to. I love them and I love their opinion, but they were like, this promo was just good, and I was like, what are you talking about? I mean,
wow, that's crazy.
Yes, I was like, he starts off kind of giving you a state of his life, which not a lot of, he broke it down and gave you a pretty kind of a state of his life. He's like, he wants to fight MJF, then he doesn't know he knows who the Butcher and the Blade are, and he uses their actual real names and the names they've used in other companies. And he's like, well, I don't really have anybody that has my back right now. My brother's wrestling with the Bucks. Brandy and Kong are cutting people's, defenseless members of the women's division's hair off. And he's like, and then his best friend kicked him in the nuts. So he's like, he's kind of lost. That's like basically his first part of his promo was him being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay. And then that set him up, like, hey, Butcher and Blade, pick my partner. We'll fight. You could have just asked for a match. Not a big deal. Like, we'll fight. And then he goes after MJF, and oh my God, I think he called him Hood Rich, said his scarf was fake. He's like
an NWO version of Chris Jericho. I mean, it was he just absolutely just exposed him, and it was so good.
Basically, if Triple H cut the same promo, they would have said he buried him. I was like, it was crazy, but he was building to the match. He was building up the angst of the match, and the only way Cody can do. And then he offered pretty much everything he had. He offered his shoes. It's Louis Vuitton is how you say it, I believe. They're like
his red bottom.
They're like $1,000 shoes. He offered a watch from Tony Khan, which I'm imagining was quite expensive if Tony gave it to him. TK gave it to him. What else did he offer?
He offered the keys to his Ford Black Ops truck, which is like one of 300 in existence.
Yes, and so.
And $50,000.
$50,000 in real cash. He even gave $100 to a kid in the front row who no-sold him.
Yeah, I know. I don't think that kid understood the value of what he was given.
Yes, because he's like, he no-sold him. And, yeah, he's like, I will give you anything to fight you. And so it was just a hell of a promo. And it was just a promo.
I have a lot to say about it, though. I do.
Yes, it was just a hell of a promo. And I was like, and he took you on a journey. This is me saying it, then I'm going to let you do your thing.
Yes.
Okay, he took you on a journey. He let you know where he was at, and he let you know what his focus was going to be for the next few weeks, which is basically getting his revenge on the Butcher and the Blade, and then he's going to make MJF fight him. So I just thought this, like, I put out a tweet, and it was very much a direct shot at WWE because I was like, who needs promo school? Just turn it on AEW and watch Cody work. You know? And Cody actually even liked it, which is, I mean, like, seriously. I mean, it's everything you wanted from a promo. And I thought it was great. I just don't even see how anyone just thought it was just good, you know? But I will digress and let Miss All Elite Tiffany do her thing. Tell us, what were your thoughts?
Well, okay. So first of all, I just want to say I can't believe that anyone thought it was just good because I'm just surprised by that. I've seen so much feedback from it, you know, just in tweets and stuff and on Instagram, and I saw so much just kind of similar to the other promo he cut before Full Gear, where people were just so wowed by it. I saw someone from, I think it was Wrestling Inc. post a tweet about, you know, 4 years ago, who actually thought Cody Rhodes would be the best promo or whatever, and I said, me, I thought so, but that's beside the point. Staying on track, this is exactly kind of what I thought I was getting last week in Chicago, so it left such a poor taste in my mouth that Cody came back, had his match, started to get on the mic, and I was so ready for this promo, and then he got attacked, which, even though in the moment I was super disappointed, I mean, what a great way to get heat on the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. They came out, they attacked the face of AEW. Cody, you know, in a moment where everyone was so excited to see him back. So even though if I can flash back now at how disappointed I was, they did exactly what they should have done, even if at the moment I was really disappointed. Bounce, you know, to the next week, to this past Wednesday, you know, Cody comes out, and I got everything I hoped for last week. And I think, you know, honestly, on a bigger story now because we have the factor of the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. So, again, the previous week was a little bit weird, and I was disappointed with that. But, again, mission accomplished because that's kind of the point, to bring someone in against the absolute face of the company who people love. I mean, talk about getting heat. We also saw in a video that AEW tweeted that MJF had something to do with them attacking Cody. So there's that, again, furthering the story between Cody and MJF. But sticking with Cody's promo, I thought it was just so good. Like Floyd said, he was vulnerable. He kind of mentioned that, you know, and I think it's so good to mention that because I know often when I watch wrestling, you know, there's always that logic part of it where you go, well, okay, why isn't anyone helping this person when they're getting attacked? We know they have friends back there, and it only happens when it's convenient if they run in and help or if they don't. But Cody addressed that, and it actually made it make sense. Like, okay, the Bucks are wrapped up with Dustin and, you know, and Santana and Ortiz. My wife's busy cutting hair off of defenseless women on the, you know, women's roster. And, you know, no one came out to help me. I mean, he addressed it. And to me, that's just brilliant because no one addresses that. They just, from week to week, sometimes someone will run in and help, sometimes they don't, and no one talks about why. So I thought that was just absolutely brilliant. So moving forward from that, then we get into him talking about the Butcher, the Bunny, and the Blade. He wants to fight them. You know, they can pick his partner, this and that. So that was also great, just discussing, you know, what happened last week. Then we get to the big part, MJF, which I was just I'm just so ready for this to just go, you know, full force into this feud because I think these two, when they eventually do wrestle, I think it's going to be such an exceptional match. I feel like they will bring the absolute best out of each other. It'll be the best match MJF's ever had. It'll have emotional tie-ins to it, which always makes a match better. As if you saw on MJF's Twitter, he posted a list of who he will not wrestle again, and it's similar to Cody's list from 2016, and literally the list consists of Cody Rhodes. So MJF is saying, hey, I'm not going to wrestle Cody. So as Floyd said, Cody goes out there, offers his truck, offers his Louboutin red bottoms, offers $50,000, his watch from Tony Khan. What's it going to take? Name your price. You know, he just absolutely exposes MJF. It was just done so well. I think the fans just completely, he had the fans eating out of the palm of his hand. To command an audience like that, it just, I don't know, it's crazy to see Cody doing this on this level and getting to showcase just how awesome he is on the mic and in the ring, but it's just that because people doubted him for so long. I think every time when I hear him come out there and cut these fire promos that, it's like all this 14 years of this talent and this untapped potential that we're finally getting to see and get, showcased, and it's phenomenal. So I thought it was so well done. I was, I didn't know if MJF was going to come out. I think it's great that he didn't. Let's save it and keep this going. It didn't need to all happen in one night. But yeah, I just absolutely loved it. I thought it was brilliant that MJF tweeted the list like Cody's. And, I put on my Twitter the side-by-side comparing the two, and I just thought that was brilliant. Cody also referenced Star Wars, which if I didn't mention that, I would be, how could I not? But just that he doesn't deal in absolutes, and that just made me happy when Cody will tie in that nerd side into a promo without even showing that it's a nerdy reference, but the people who get it love it. So, I don't know, just A+. As always, I thought Cody was phenomenal.
The first line of his interview was a Garth Brooks lyric.
That too. He always loves to reference Garth too. Yes.
Yeah, I don't listen to Garth Brooks. Someone had to tell me that, but I just thought that was kind of cool that he started off with something. Like I said, I think it was a perfect promo going from his first line was talking about his heart being broken and how vulnerable he was to basically the end where I'm going to kick your ass. I need to fight you, MJF.
Yeah. And that was something I was real quick. I kept wanting to mention this and I forgot. And I think I even forgot to mention it on my video yesterday. But I was so glad he mentioned about MJF throwing in the towel at Full Gear, that was not his decision to make, only Cody's. And we've needed that. We've needed that to be said from Cody. And we hadn't got it till Wednesday, and I'm so glad it was said, and it was perfectly fit in, because that essentially ruined Cody's chance of challenging for the AEW title, and that's what prompted this entire thing. And I'm so glad that he fit it just perfectly, how when he was going into talking about wanting to fight MJF and that he's going to teach him and educate him and hurt him and lacerate him and everything, that was one of the things. So he's like, that was not your decision to make. And we finally got that from Cody. That wasn't, we didn't get to feel his anger about that moment at Full Gear. So that was just, I love that was fit in so well and finally stated from Cody on Dynamite.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I feel like we've talked about that Cody promo. I knew that was going to be a big section of our show.
I mean, you're dealing with Floyd and Tiffany. It's just a given.
Two huge Cody fans. It was like then Nyla Rose beat Leva Bates. She squashed her pretty quick. I think it was like 3 moves or something like that. So Nyla kept beating up Leva, and Shauna came in. Shauna came in to make the save. Nyla got the advantage over her. She put then powerbombed Rick Knox through a table, and put Shauna onto him. So she went a little crazy. Well, let me just say she went native beast on them. She didn't go crazy.
Exactly, you can't tame the beast. Come on.
Yes. They realized they couldn't tame the beast as Nyla went native on them all. And we found out later she has been suspended. It was indefinitely. We have since found out she's suspended for the rest of the year. What do you think about this suspension?
As a Nyla fan, I'm like, come on, guys, just let the beast go. You can't tame the beast. But I think, in story, I think it's, I don't know. I think it's going to build to something obviously bigger. I think Nyla she's great. I think that the fans take to her. She has obviously some people who may not like her for reasons I'm not going to get into that are just ridiculous. But as far as, if you're a wrestling fan and you see Nyla out there, she is a beast. She's awesome. And I love watching her. I think it's a good way to establish her as that just absolute force. She put Rick Knox through a table, for heaven's sake. She's just, she doesn't care. She's going to just beat up whoever gets in her way. So, thankfully it's just till the end of the year, which is just a few weeks. So let's, we can play up some other things in the women's division in the meantime. And then, Nyla will come back and hopefully just absolutely dominate. So I think it's, it's okay. It's not, like I said, it's a part of the story. I think it's going to end up being something bigger for her. So I'm okay with it. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm like, I just want to see Nyla on Dynamite because I love her. So yeah. But, I mean, I'm excited to see what happens when she returns. I'm sure it's a build to something even bigger for her. So I'm interested, and, I'm okay with it because I can't wait to see what the payoff is of it. So
I was right there with you. And then our friend on Twitter, Nyla's wife, at Kel the Celt, says, it's just me, or does anyone find it unfair? Nyla gets suspended for putting the ref through a table, but Kong and Brandy are literally snatching wigs with zero repercussions. And I was like...
He makes a very good point.
I was like, that's a solid point. I guess it's the whole attacking the referee thing, but...
yeah, it has to be, but come on.
Brandy and Kong out here cutting people's hair. Not voluntarily, for the most part.
Right, exactly.
No. So that was kind of, it was a funny tweet because she was right. I was like,
she was.
So
and she also did the attack on Shauna at the signing, so I'm sure it's a build of some of her actions that prompted the suspensions, that at the end of the day, it is wrestling, so come on. I think it mostly has to do with Rick Knox, but it's still, you do have Brady and Kong literally not even with scissors. They're using a dang knife to chop off people's hair, and they're not getting any repercussions. So yeah, that's a very good point that Kel made.
Yes, during the commercial of this, what we didn't see if you were watching on TNT, they did a callback where Britt Baker's in the audience and she puts her hands over her mouth. And Excalibur screams out, "That's Adam Cole's girlfriend!" And so
it was a funny little
dig at
jab or whatever.
At NXT, because they were like, "I hope she doesn't get in trouble," and they're like, "AEW's like, we're not you." We know she.
That's why it was so great, because people actually thought she'd get in trouble, which is just absurd. And so, that was their way of being like, nope, we're just going to have fun with this. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, we know she goes to watch her boyfriend wrestle.
Her boyfriend. Why wouldn't she?
Yes.
It's okay.
I like I said, I was at 2 takeovers this year. She walked right past me both times. It was just like, it's not a big deal. She doesn't try to get attention. She just sits there, watches the match, and leaves. And so I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Some people are making a way bigger deal out of it than it is. It was lighthearted, it's funny, and it was just proving that, no, why would she be in trouble? It's fine.
And they're used to the pettiness of the other company. Because the other company, that person would probably get buried on Raw.
Yeah, absolutely would. Just being honest.
They might get dog food rubbed on them. Oh, no, that's what happens to their main stars.
But let's not talk about that.
I'm just saying. So Chris Jericho comes out for a promo. He says that he's contractually obligated to wrestle one more time. For all you people out there, he's contractually obligated to wrestle one more time. Not defend the title, wrestle. That is very important because people got up in arms about what happened in the next part.
My gosh, I know.
He reads the list of people not qualified to face him, now called the Lexicon of the Champion. Also, Excalibur pointed out that he was using the word lexicon wrong.
Yeah.
Yes. The list named John Moxley several times, as well as everyone from Kenny Chesney to Paige. He also shouted out Alan Jones, which, if you didn't know, is AJ Styles. Kenny Ortega. So Jurassic Express answered the challenge, and Jericho agreed. He said, "You know what? Dinosaurs and children are on there too." Luchasaurus got on the mic and said, "Marco, this was funny to me. Marco is young for small for his age," and Jericho, he said he was small for any age. I died.
Yeah,
I
that was
laughed out
great.
loud because, yes, he's a very tiny person. Jericho agreed to face Jungle Boy on December 18th because he said he couldn't last 10 minutes with Chris Jericho. Jericho called Jungle Boy a piece of shit, and then he got slapped, and then Jericho threw a tantrum. But the big thing is Jericho is wrestling Jungle Boy. It is not for the world title.
No, and the setup was not based on anything. You know, Jericho came out, said, hey, I'm obligated to wrestle, you know, made his list, you know, not a list, but the lexicon of Les Champions, you know, who he's not going to face in 2019. Like you said, Jurassic Express came out. It's saying he couldn't last 10 minutes. It was the perfect way to set up a match that's going to allow Jungle Boy to go out there and do something special against Chris Jericho. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this, and it only benefits Jungle Boy, and I don't understand where the criticism is coming in. It's not like Jungle Boy's getting a title shot by any means.
That's what it is. It's coming from people that don't pay attention. They're just talking out of their ass.
Yeah. Yeah, because otherwise they would realize that it was done well, it's done perfectly. You know, it is pro wrestling. It's, you know, AEW has a different approach than other wrestling companies, but it's still pro wrestling. There's still going to be matches that are built based on segments, and that's okay. I mean, we're not saying Jungle Boy is the number one contender for the AEW World title and that he's getting a title shot on December 18th. No, we're saying he came out to interrupt Jericho during a great segment, a funny segment, and it was thrown out that he couldn't last 10 minutes with him, so the match was made. So to me, there's no issue, and it blows my mind that that people are have an issue with this, but it was great, and I'm excited for the match.
Yeah, and I imagine, I'm just guessing, because they don't really just throw stuff out there, it's going to be a 10-minute time limit on the 18th.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, too. Like, will he be able to last 10 minutes? Because, I mean, clearly he's not going to pin Chris Jericho, but I think he'll last 10 minutes, and it'll be a great moment for him. So and Jungle Boy, I mean, people like Jungle Boy, so that also floors me that this is a problem for people. But like you said, there's always going to be those people that just hate to hate. So
the people
find a problem with everything.
I'm going to say it's generally people that don't watch the show.
Well, yeah, that's the truth. They see the results, they read the results online, and then form an opinion without actually watching it.
They play a clip from Twitter that doesn't show you don't get any type of context, and then you just respond, and then you're like, oh, there's this whole minute before and this minute after that actually explains what happens. Oh, okay, now
imagine that.
Now I feel
conveniently
stupid.
left that out.
Now I feel stupid. I'm going to delete my tweet and not say anything about it now.
Right.
Yeah.
I also want to mention that when they came out, I thought it was cool because I know my first thought was, wow, how cool would it be to see Luchasaurus versus Jericho, and I'm sure we're going to get that match down the road, and I'm excited for it. But I think that was my first thought, which I thought would have been really cool. But I'm glad it's being saved because it's definitely a much bigger match for down the road. But yeah, it was just something that popped into my mind when they came out, so that was pretty cool to think about something down the road to see those two go at it because I think Luchasaurus has such a huge future at AEW.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. Okay. All right. Let's see. Then
Real quick before we move on, I just want to mention how Hager's pants match his shirt. What a bold choice for Dynamite in his outfit. I was amused by that. I was like, he has literally like these burgundy pants that match his shirt, and that just amused me to no end. But you know what? You got to own it. So I had to mention that because that really amused me. But anyway, go ahead.
Yes, we then get Chris Statlander versus Hikaru Shida. I thought this was, if not for the 6-man tag, it's like a 1A and 1B situation. I thought this was like the best match of the night. They went back and forth. Hikaru Shida is the number one contender for the women's title. Statlander basically new. I think she's 1-0 in women's matches, and they had a great match. Chris Statlander pinned her with the Big Bang Theory, or the Big Bang, which was kind of cool. She did this thing where she cartwheeled all around Shida, and Shida looked confused, and then she bopped her on the nose. And someone said this was worse than the finger poke of death. I'm like, well, it was just a fun spot, and she bopped on the nose.
Yeah.
She didn't win. Sheeta didn't even go down. Actually, Sheeta freaking punched her in the face right after.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was done in a way to to sell it or anything. So I don't know what the issue was, but I thought it was a great match too. I'm with you. I think the minute it was announced, everyone was so excited for it, and definitely lived up to the hype and everyone's excitement. Those two killed it.
Chris Statlander, from what we found out from Jonathan Snowden or whatever, his account, that Brandy told him that she is signed. So she is officially on the roster. It was like, for me, I don't consider anyone on the roster until they get this person is All Elite from the All Elite Twitter page. So I'm going to have to hit up the Twitter page. They're going to have to get on their job there. So no.
Yeah, I know. I thought the same thing, but she is also ranked this week. So that makes me feel confident that she is genuinely signed.
Yeah, she is. That's a huge signing. Apparently, a lot of companies wanted her. I definitely believe with the addition of Big Swole, her, and Shauna, already good as far as talent division has just gotten better. And I think we got another new person that came in just a moment, and it was just like, okay, you're starting to see the women's division get built even more. And people are taking different roles in the division. So in this case, after the match, Brandy and Khan came out, and they looked like they were about to chop off some hair of Sheeta. And Statlander got between them, and Brandy's cutting her promo. And you will probably – I've only seen this promo like twice, so I don't remember everything she said. I did know she named her group. The group is going to be called the Nightmare Collective. It is an extension of the Nightmare family that handles the business that other people won't. And she's like, she didn't have any problem with Chris Statlander, but she was impressed. Offered her a spot in the Nightmare Collective, and looked like Statlander turned her down. And then there was a person on the outside, and she was very excited to join. She said, pick me, pick me, pick me. They let her in the ring. Khan cut her hair, and she joined the Nightmare Collective. Apparently she is a wrestler named Maria, and I forgot her last name.
I can't remember it off the top of my head either. Is it? I think people were saying it's cheerleader Melissa. Is that what she was known as prior? I believe. I think that's what I heard people saying, but I could be wrong on that. So please don't take that for word if I'm wrong. But I cannot remember her last name either. I don't have it. Can you look it up real quick? Or?
Melanie Cruz. That is her.
There
name.
We go.
Yeah,
there we go.
Let me tell you, I wrote it down for the notes for this show, but I forgot where it was like crumbled up in my notes, and I forgot where I put it. So yeah, Melanie Cruz, she has joined the Nightmare Collective, and it's one of those things. And this is old school wrestling where you pretend like you don't know who a person is. It's like, I remember when Santino. Well, that was like the last time I remember Santino beat Umaga on like his first night. They pulled somebody from outside the ring. Yeah. And it's just like, I love it because it's old school. It's one of those things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like even when I first went in hair staff, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Because, you're never just going to let a person just come get their hair chopped off,
But sometimes you just have to let go of that, and just enjoy it and let it unfold before your eyes instead of overly critiquing it. So I completely agree. Yes. Very old school, and it was kind of a cool moment. I thought it was a cool moment.
Yeah, definitely. We're Team Nightmare Collective, of course. Tiffany already ordered her shirt. I'm going to order mine.
I did.
I'm going to order mine soon. Crystal loves it.
We're going to have to be twins and rock that shirt at the show together too. That's a given. I know it's always a Cody shirt, but we got to do it for Brandy because that shirt's badass. I'm so excited for the Nightmare Collective. I think that Brandy came out there and she doesn't get mic time like that in front of the live crowd very often, and we saw her over the summer leading up to the match with Shawn Spears when she did that insanely amazing promo on the road too, and it just shows that she has that ability in front of a live crowd where she doesn't get a second take. So I was so proud of her for that. And I just love that it's something that it's Brandy's. It's not Cody being accompanied by Brandy, this and this. She's worth so much more than that. And I'm really, really excited to see her getting this, spot on the show. And then also, clearly this is going to be something where she gets new members, and it's going to build the women's, one of the complaints about people who complain about AEW often mention the women's division. And like I said before, you have to be patient. It's a slow build because we have a ton of talent, but they're not established talent. And it takes time to build those people, because you can't just put matches on Dynamite when you're hoping to get ratings for people that people haven't heard of, just because you've heard of them being, a hardcore internet fan where you know all the backstories of every wrestler out there. So it's very important to try to remember that, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and it takes time. So you're going to put out your names, like I've said, like the Bucks, like Cody, like Kenny, to bring your viewers in, and then you sprinkle in those new people fall in love with them. Like Chris Statlander is a perfect example. Like, some people just took to her immediately, and now she's signed, and now we have the Nightmare Collective, and that's going to be a faction, and I love factions because it immediately gives someone a purpose, and it elevates them from just being a singles competitor that comes out and you're like, who's this? Oh, wait, this person's in the Nightmare Collective. It automatically gives them a meaning and a purpose beyond just coming out and being a good wrestler. They're aligned with somebody. So it gives them a story without even having to do much work. And you see who's going to join this faction, who's going to defect. And anyone who joins is automatically, again, has an immediate elevation for being not just some wrestler who's out there, whether you've heard of them or not. They're in a faction, so it just puts another, to me, just more to their story. So I can't wait to see this unfold, and I think we'll get more from Brandy in terms, like Floyd said, this is a extension of the Nightmare family. We do the business that the others don't want to do. I can't wait to find out more of that and see who else joins. And I think it's a great thing. And again, I'm just so happy that Brandy gets to do something that's not just an extension of accompanying Cody to the ring. So I'm really, really excited for this.
Yeah, and you got to think this is the first all-female faction in AEW.
Yeah, that's huge.
That is huge. So, and it's not something they drive home or, put on their site and all that stuff. It just is, that kind of thing. So,
definitely.
Yeah, so we get announced the Butcher and the Blade versus Cody Rhodes, and the partner they picked for him, QT Marshall, is made for next week as Young Bucks and Private Party in a street fight. Then we get
Texas street fight.
Texas street fight, and because they'll be in Texas, and I will be live in the building. Then we get Pentagon against Christopher Daniels. This match actually was kind of slow, and if there was a low point of the show, I would say it was this match. Not saying I have any problem. I'm actually a huge Pentagon fan. I'm actually a huge Christopher Daniel fan. They don't look like wrestling's a dance, and they look like they weren't on the same page today.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you on that. I thought I liked the match. It was fine, but if I had to choose a low point, I thought the whole show in general was just so good that it's hard to say there was a low point. But if we had to say one, I would say it was that match. I don't feel like Christopher Daniels, he's so good, and I felt like he was just off on Wednesday. Maybe he was just not, who knows if there's something going on. But it didn't seem like you were getting true Christopher Daniels in the match. But I mean, they still did a great match. But it definitely wasn't like the highlight of the show.
Yeah, and that's what I'm like. There was something off about the energy of the match. It was supposed to be this definitely big, I wouldn't even say end of the feud, but the continuation of a feud from them attacking them. And it was just supposed to, I felt like it should have been more physical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just like telling that story, and it just felt like it was just a match. And then, he missed the springboard moonsault on the outside. Apparently the ropes that wasn't on him. Apparently the ropes were slick because
that makes sense.
A few other people were having problems with the ropes. And he's done that move 1,000 times. I've never seen
I was going
him.
to say, I didn't think it was on him because he's flawless for the most part. So
Yeah, I don't think it, so I'm not taking on Daniels. Like I said, sometimes chemistry is just off. And me personally, I would probably have this match again next week.
Yeah, I would like to see them given another chance because I really think that match has such potential. It just didn't work the way it could have this past Wednesday, but I'm with you. I'd love to see it again.
Yeah, just run the match back. Like, hey, let's try it again. Because I don't, Christopher Daniels is, one of the, he's a great wrestler. So I just don't think that had it wasn't really him. It was just,
Yeah, something felt off for sure. So
then we get a vignette, Aaron, explaining the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. And, of course, they were paid by MJF. They showed that you would have to go to the Twitter to see MJF's response to Cody. But, in this case, the Butcher, Blade, and Bunny said, they're basically tired of seeing Cody's face. And they're going to cut off the head of the snake, which Cody, in their terms, is the head of the snake because he's the biggest star. He is the head face of AEW right now. All right, and then we get to the main event, John and Moxley versus Joey Janela. Early in the night, we had an interview where Joey Janela said, basically, John Moxley, tonight you're really going to have to kill me. John Moxley comes up to him, looks at him, and said, kids. And it was just kind of funny. It was completely dismissive of Joey Janela. I thought it was hilarious. They had a solid match. John Moxley wins with the paradigm shift. But the big news from the match is Chris Jericho comes down the aisle up top with the inner circle, a la how Moxley comes into the ring, and he just stares down Moxley as the show ends, which I thought was a perfect ending because they're kind of telling you this is going to be the major storyline going forward. They're both going to get smaller storylines, but this is going to be a major storyline going forward. So I had a thought about this, and you can tell me what you think. Okay. Moxley's kind of been running through the young members of the roster, right?
Yes.
What if, and maybe not straight 5 people, 5-on-5, what if he takes Joey Janela and kind of Darby Allin under his wing to have his back against the inner circle?
I think that would be excellent. And again, you know me, I'm huge on factions. I just think it really adds so much to the show, and I think that would be a really good, to me, I feel like 100%, both of them answered the challenge, and it held their own, and they're both very similar in their styles and their, way of how they are. So, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, and, they will get more TV time because they're on with Moxley. And then you'll have that little moment when he's coming down to the ring through the audience, and he'll have 3 people. So, kind of throwback to...
I love that idea. I think that would be great. I hope that that's something that happens, and obviously them 2 are the perfect ones to do it because they both have wrestled him. And that it's a great pairing. It would make sense.
Yes, and so this was another solid, really good episode of AEW. I do have to mention that the recap I had didn't have this in there. There was another Dark Order vignette where he actually goes out into the woods and joins the Dark Order. And they ask, well, why do you want to? Will you forsake your family and friends for the Dark Order? He said, yes. And he's like, why do you want to join the Dark Order? And he says, I just want friends. And then the creepers attacked him and beat him up. And it looks like this character's journey into the Dark Order is now started. He's in the Dark Order. Maybe he'll come out as a creeper on a match or something like that. I just think from the day the Dark Order debuted to now, they just made it work. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
It was getting really shit on when it debuted. And now you got jointhedarkorder.com. You got the Dark Order t-shirts. Everybody's hashtagging Join the Dark Order. I've seen twice this week where the show wasn't even on and it randomly was trending. It's like
funny.
just somebody just said join the Dark Order in the middle of the day. So it's just, I think it's pretty cool. I actually dig. I've always wanted. It was like Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. I know how good of wrestlers they are. They killed some matches with the Young Bucks. And then I met them and they were so nice. I guess they were trying to get me to join the Dark Order.
They probably were.
They're
Yeah,
trying to get me to join the Dark Order. I don't know. We are one, if you're in the Dark Order, but I just think this is one of those storylines that, they're one of those storylines that basically everyone said wasn't going to work, and now the collective group running AEW are kind of like, we told you. Just give us a minute.
I completely agree.
Yeah,
I've loved the promos. I don't think that the guy in the promo is going to have anything to do with the show. I think it's just showing how they recruit people. My thought is that Hangman might join them. I think he's lost. He left the Elite. He was trying on being the Elite to make friends. So I think that's where Hangman is going to come back into the show, maybe as a new member of the Dark Order, and give him something, because I feel like he's kind of lost right now. And what do? They prey on people who are lost. So I think that the vignettes have been a way to establish who they are, and that it's this cult-like thing, and people are into it. They're, like you said, they're using the hashtags. I don't think the dude that's been in the promos is going to have anything to do with being on the show. I think that's just a way to establish what they're doing. But I for some reason just have the feeling that Hangman is going to be someone who joins the Dark Order. I don't know. I think it's just because, he did leave the Elite, and he kind of, where's he been? He tweeted he wasn't at Dynamite. He was home drinking whiskey this past week. He's not even there. So he seems a bit lost right now, and I think that maybe the Dark Order will find him. So I'm very interested to see where this goes. And like you said, this is one of those things where I was entertained by their matches. They're so good, but I just needed something, and this is it, and they did it. And like you said, they kind of probably had something brewing all along, but it just, the right time to introduce it, and here they are. So people are all about it. I mean, I believe you have joined Dark Order in your display name on Twitter, so maybe it worked when you met him. You might be joining Dark Order Floyd, I don't know, but yeah, I'm all for it, and I am really excited to see where this goes.
Yes, I am. I'm definitely looking. I think it serves as a lesson with all things, especially with AEW. I feel like they've earned a little trust in their storylines. So if something happens and you don't get it at first, I'm not saying, be a cheerleader like me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, wait a minute before commenting.
Yes, patience. I've said this so many times recently because it's so true. Yeah. Patience, guys. It can't all happen at once. And let's like Floyd mentioned earlier, this was literally the 10th Dynamite. This is still a new company. Things are still being established, and stories are being told. Stars are being made. We have to be patient. I mean, it's not. We're building. This is not something that has been around for 10 years. We've had 10 episodes, and they've been great. And I mean, the pluses, have been so much far outweigh the small little bits of here and there where I'm like, where like we said, the previous week in Chicago, I personally was just not starting off with a match, set a weird tone for me. But in general, it's been nothing but home runs. And like Floyd said, maybe these little things like the Dark Order and, just examples like that are kind of where if you have a moment where you're like, oh, okay, again, just patience, let it build, and just let yourself just enjoy it rather than trying to think ahead or overanalyze or overthink it. Just enjoy it.
Yeah. Just wait a minute. Let it develop, because guess what? It generally pays off. And like I know when you deal with other places, it might not, but in AEW, it's been paying off pretty well. So that was a Dynamite this week. We only got 2 matches so far for next week. But I am looking forward to Cody versus the Butcher, Cody and QT versus Butcher and the Blade, and of course the Young Bucks and Private Party Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful are going to tear down the building. So with the street fight, I think those are going to be great. You looking forward to those matches?
Very much. Do you think that we're going to have the? Do you think that'll be the main event, or do you think they'll have the Bucks kick off? What do you think? What do you think or do you think we'll have another match that we haven't even heard about yet kick off the show?
I think we're kicking off with Cody.
You think we're kicking off with Cody? Okay.
Yeah, I think
I could see that.
Yeah, I think Cody and QT versus the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. I think that starts off the show. I think the street fight is right now is the main event. We might get something else, but I think that's the main event.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I do think that will probably be the main event. It's whenever the Bucks kick off Dynamite, it's such a win. But again, it's Cody, and the very first Dynamite, absolute win, having him kick it off. And it's also that factor. Will we see MJF come out? I mean, I know everyone is super into that feud, so that would be a great way to kick it off. But I'm excited for both of those matches. I'm excited to see what else gets announced leading up to next Wednesday, and then I mean it's just full of excitement right now. This last week, Dynamite just left me feeling so excited and just ready for. I mean, it always does, but this one was just to me one of the best ones they've done. It was just perfectly mix of story development. You had two segments, Jericho and Cody, that were talk segments, but they were so well done and sprinkled into the action. Nothing took away from anything else. Absolutely A+ stellar show.
Yes, absolutely. I'm looking for, like I said, looking forward. Last week was great. It makes me look forward to this week in Dallas. It's going to be a fun show. Then
Floyd gets to be there in person, so that's awesome.
Then the next
I will miss being by your side, buddy.
Yes, I will miss having you there. The next week will be in Corpus Christi, so we're going to have it timed out. If you live in these areas, make sure you're getting those tickets. AEW in-building experience is amazing. Before next week, make sure you are going to YouTube, Heart of the Elite with Tiffany, and make sure you're listening to her show. This week's about 20 minutes. There's nothing, I put it on Twitter. There's nothing better you can do with 20 minutes of your time than listen to Tiffany. It is just like rainbows and unicorns coming out of a video. It's the greatest thing ever. So just make sure you go check her out on Heart of the Elite with Tiffany. This week, I will be doing on Wednesday mornings, I will be doing a little 10-minute video just previewing as an extension of this show, previewing what's going to happen on Dynamite. The reason being is when we do the show on Saturday, we never know what's going to be on the next week's show.
Yeah, that's the truth.
We might have two matches, so we're just going to do a little 10-minute video on the Social Suplex YouTube page as to promote the Social Suplex YouTube page, and see if you enjoy it. Go there. Usually I end the show telling you to be elite and stuff, but actually today, as I said at the beginning of the show, we are going to have a special interview as Rich Latta from One Nation Radio will be joining me to interview Teasy Scott, a.k.a. Monteasy. He is at Teasy Scott on all social media, but we're going to be talking to Monteasy about how he got into doing wrestling themes, his wrestling fandom, his music fandom, him and Rich, of course, being Rich, a lot of voice being the music guy, so Suplex has a lot of good music questions. So, Tiffany, thank you. It feels like forever since we've done this. My spirits, my soul is just up on a higher note every time we talk about wrestling.
I know, I agree, and I'm so glad to be back. I want to wish Amy well and send love to her daughter, and I'm so excited to be back more every other week on the show, back on our normal schedule. I'm so glad to be back. Thank you, Floyd, for everything, and it's so good to be back. I've missed being on here with you.
All right, so the next thing you'll hear is a clip from Cody, the song by Monteasy. We're gonna hear the clip from the song, and then you'll hear the interview with me, Rich and Monteasy. Y'all, hopefully you will enjoy it and let me know, and we'll do it more.
Since I was younger, I was taught by my father. These hard times come, better get it in order. I've dined with the kings, fell in love with the queen. I became a president of something, follow my dream. And now they say, grind it like I'm Cody Rhodes.
On the phone with us today, we got Antoine Monteasy Moore. Do I just call you Teasy? What do I call you?
Yeah, Teasy's fine.
All right, and with joining me for the interview from One Nation Radio, we got Mr. Rich Latta. How you doing, Rich?
Hey, what's good, folks?
All right, yeah, Rich, One Nation Radio, catching on Social Suplex every Sunday, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So Teasy, thank you for being on the show. To let everyone know how this happened, Cody retweeted your song called Cody, and I played it, and I was like, okay, I want him on the show. I didn't know anything else about you from that one song. I was like, I bought it on Amazon. I was like, I just want him on the show. So, I hit you up pretty quickly, like, okay, I need to talk to you on the here. That song was amazing. Then I found out you did so much other stuff. So I will start off with the question you probably get the most. When did you start in music? When did you start rapping? When did you start this musical journey of yours?
Absolutely, man. Great question. I started my musical journey. I'm 31 years old, so I started it when I was 16. I was 15, 16. I was about a sophomore in high school, and I started. I've always been, inspired by music. I grew up in a household full of music. Not around any famous musicians or anything. It was a skill I had to build, but my grandmother and my family, they always used to play great music around the house, and it was just something that I picked up and becoming a student of it. So when I started rapping, I started just, doing what the great Eminem did. Just started reading the dictionary, just trying to increase my vocabulary, build my freestyle skills up and stuff like that. And just start working on my craft. I didn't start recording professionally until I was like 21, 22 in a professional studio with like studio quality of music. And that's why I really started to perfect my skill and perform at local bars and stuff like that. Get my name up. But then I started doing wrestling music. In February it'll be 6 years. So I've been doing wrestling music for 6 years, and it's been a long journey. It's been a long journey, but it's definitely a great thing that I've gotten myself and finding my lane doing this. So it's been a long time, but I'm definitely happy to still be here and to release a song like Cody, which is very random. I'm very, very glad that the fans has taken to it.
Now, TV, where are you from? Because I'm in the Florida area. I know Floyd's in Oklahoma. I'm in the Tampa Bay area. Are you I can't really put it together because I seen an area code and I'm like, that's my area code.
Yeah, actually, I live in St. Pete, man.
Oh, okay, cool, man. That's what's good.
Yeah,
I'm right up the road.
Absolutely, man. Definitely, man. We got to talk after the show, man. We got to talk after the show,
man. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
so I had a question too. Like you say, you've been doing it for 6 years. Do you approach your wrestling theme music any differently, or do you try to pull the wrestling feel into more of what you do?
So it's been like a formula. If a lot of people don't know the resume and what I've done, I did Moose's theme music, not the Moose song, not that one, but when he turned heel not too long ago, I did that music. I did the music when him, Austin Aries, and Killer Cross were a stable. I did that music. I did oh man, you name it. I've done music for almost everybody in independence. And Shane Strickland to, you name it. I've done a lot of their people's music that on my resume. The thing is, though, to answer your question directly, man, is every time I look at it, I try to I'll use Cody for the exact example because that's how you guys heard of me. I try to write things in storytelling fashion, and I try to write it, and it being a hit record, but not. It doesn't sound like wrestling. I try to make it as anyone can listen to it. You know. So if you notice, I don't try to make it as like, you know, very genre-y where it could time out, where, you know, I could like, because when I do a theme song for someone that wants a theme song from me, I'll mention their signature moves and stuff like that. But a song like that I'm putting out to the masses, I try to make it timeless so that there's nothing that I'll write that'll get outdated or something like when I wrote the Cody song, I was very careful in what I said so that it didn't, you can listen to it 10 years from now and it still has the same effect. And there's nothing like, oh, well, he doesn't do that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just wrote about his dad, his brother, him becoming the president of the company, him feeling held back. And I feel like we've all kind of felt held back. And I believe that is the ascension of that record. So every time I write a record like that, it's always based on a particular person and what they want before something that I put out myself. I always try to write it in a notion that anybody can listen to it and it doesn't sound like a wrestling record, even though it is a wrestling song.
No doubt, man. Yeah, like I'm deep into like the wrestle rap, you know, kind of bubble. And one of the things I like about the stuff that you've done is it's more kind of like autobiographical, I would say, to the wrestler. It's not like there's a throwaway line on the song and then, you know, it's like a completely different title with the song being a wrestler. It's like I feel like people are like kind of trying to traffic in like the aesthetic, but I feel like your aesthetic is very authentic.
Thank you. It is, you know, I came up with my own formula. 6 years ago, I dropped a song called Roman Reigns that I just randomly just dropped. And that was the very start of my career doing this. You know, you know, people have come before me, people will come after me, but I've just tried to, and I've kind of been like kind of under the radar person. Even on my resume, I've made music for every single promotion except WWE. My music is played for every promotion except for them. But the thing about it is that, you know, it's I feel like it is becoming a niche thing. I feel like some people, like you said, I do believe that some people just do it because it's kind of like they just try to, they'll name a song called like SummerSlam 87, but it has nothing to do with SummerSlam 1987. You know what I mean? And it can become kind of jaded because the wrestling fans, one thing about it, man, I'm in wrestling and I'm in music, and it is the two most opinionated forms of genres from grown men that you'll ever find. Like I was talking to my man Isaiah Scott, Sora Scott. We do a podcast together called Sora City Podcast, and we was talking on live on air, and Swerve was like, man, he's like, how do you survive because you're in such a male dominated genre? I was like, well, you know, being involved in, you know, music and wrestling, I don't think you're going to find more strong opinions from grown men than in this, or sports. Sports, wrestling, and music, a grown man's going to think his opinion within like the first 5 seconds of when you ask him, and he's going to be honest. Right. So that's how I feel about, you know, that's how I feel about this. I feel like a lot of it is I feel like a lot of people are just trying to jump on it, but they don't really have the passion for it. They might be wrestling fans, but, you know, us wrestling fans, we'll get rid of somebody in a minute if we don't think that they're authentic. And Lord knows we've seen people come and go, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I went down the YouTube rabbit hole of your songs, and it was like, the first thing I noticed, it was the reason I was like, really brought me to it is because it was about the wrestler. You know how much music I'll see a name on it or someone's name on it, and they'll name it after a wrestler, and I'm like, I have no idea. This is not about that wrestler, and your stuff is just about the person that you're rapping about. What I was going to get to on this is in AEW, which is, you know, this show's all elite. You did that Cody song, so you told me that Sammy G, that's your song, right? His theme song is yours?
Yes, I made that theme song, and I also breaking news for people that don't know, Big Swole, when she debuts, me and her did the song together. So that's 2 songs.
Oh, that is
no
awesome.
Doubt, man. Yeah. I actually DM'd Sammy Guevara personally, like the night after the debut on TNT. my jaw dropped when I heard his music, and I love like the bass, like the whole beat and the way you like flowed on it. Like I DM'd him just to ask for the artist, and he pointed me in your direction. So that's kind of how I got it like onto you.
Yeah, that song.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, I was at the first night of Dynamite, and that song came on, and of course you could hear it clear when you're there, and I was just like, man, because he was the first person out, right after Cody, and I was like, man, this is a big time song. I was like, almost like the song was bigger than he was at the point, and it made him seem bigger. So I thought that your music almost accentuated and added to his character. So just something I thought when I first heard it. It was like something I said right next to the guy that was next to me. I was like, man, okay. This song makes him seem more big time, which, Sammy G's a great wrestler, but I did think that about your music. Is there anyone that, that of course that you haven't done? Like, who is your number one? Who would you love to have a theme song and it be their theme song that they play all the time? Like WWE anywhere. Who would it be?
I've been around this long, and the resume builds up. Well, first things first before I answer that. Thank you guys for compliments on the Sammy record. That means so much to me. And being part of the inaugural first match and have my song played, man, I was in tears that night. It meant so much to me. But if I could answer that question directly, I'm kind of in a different situation because I've done every company outside of WWE. So I would have to say if me and Swerve could get in the studio because he's about to be debuting some new music soon, and it's just a beat. If me and him could go in there together, and do his new theme song, and he's about to do and add something to that, then that will be the end of my bucket list, honestly, as far as who I want to make music for. Because I ended up, a lot of my favorite wrestlers, I ended up doing something for them, or executive producing behind the scenes or doing something for them. So I would have to say that would be on my bucket list. Because then that would be the last company that I could say that I did something for, or my voice was featured on, and then I'd be good.
Oh, okay, that's.
I know you're kind of tied into the inside, the inner hip hop community within wrestling, of the actual wrestlers, right? Now, I've seen different pictures you put up and different stuff like that. Now, what's the hip hop community inside of wrestling kind of like? And I've seen you done a song with Kenny King before. Are there some people that rap that we wouldn't expect, or anything like that?
Great question, man. I don't get asked this often, and honestly, I think I would with how I'm in, but I'm not. I'm in a weird position in wrestling. It's very, 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 very weird, my position. And there's a lot of things I don't get involved in because you get caught in that rabbit hole, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's I always feel like wrestlers have different talents that they don't get to display. Right. No disrespect to WWE, but I feel like they push a lot of wrestlers to accentuate their talents, but I also feel like a lot of the wrestlers are kind of scared to because they kind of feel like they might not get the support. Nowadays, you do see a lot of wrestlers branching out now and doing different things. Me and Swerve are dropping an album together. We're 80% done with our album, and we're dropping our album WrestleMania weekend. So it's called from Humble Beginnings. Me and Swerve are dropping our album, but for things like All Elite, the thing I like about All Elite Wrestling, and to stay particular to the podcast name and the topic, is that it's a sense of freedom, and that's why I watch it. It's a sense of it's not only a breath of fresh air, but it seems like a thing of freedom, and being involved in it and seeing it. I like that because it gives people a chance to open up and have their talents open. And you'd be surprised how many people can rap. I knew Kenny King could rap. I didn't know he could rap like that. So when he sent me his verse, I was like, oh, okay. So we did that, and I got Swerve in the studio, and there's other people that can do little things. Leo, obviously, Leo Rush, and a lot of guys who are now starting to do music. And we actually are going to get in the studio with Leo in a couple weeks. But being able to do things like that and see the growth of people in this industry is still not a tapped-in industry. If you have me, who's been around 6 years, you have a Meccaran, you have a Josiah Williams, you have a crew of people who has, it hasn't really been tapped in that, so this market is still pretty fresh, and a lot of people is now just starting to get its eyes on it, with people like us. So it's still a very, very, novice thing to touch on.
Like, it's crazy, there's not more rap themes in wrestling, I would say. A lot of that comes down to demographics and all that, but if you look at, the music of the youth and, what really moves the culture, just anywhere, in streaming, rap's the most popular genre, throwing some 808s on the songs in the arenas would fill them up just fine, don't you think?
Absolutely. That's how I feel. I feel like, I feel like I sit back and I'm thinking, and I'm like, well, this could work, this could work, this could work. No, that's not going to work. But you could always do a hip hop song, and if you do it right, there has to be a certain way to do it because it has to go to all demographics. Right. I believe if you could find that niche way to write it and to pick the right music, that it blends to everyone, and everybody can put it on. From the demographic of maybe a Caucasian grandmother to a young African American kid, and they both have the same feeling when they hear it, then it's good. But I feel like theme songs now, no disrespect to anybody, but I feel like a lot of them sound the same. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of just hard riff guitar, a sound effect, and it just loops, it loops. Not saying hip hop doesn't have its flaws either. I try to make every song different, but it just now everything sounds generic. It just sounds like, I always call these wrestling themes now. It sounds like menu music for a video game. It sounds like the menu music for a video game. Like if you're just playing one of these video games and it's just like an instrumental, that's what it sounds like. It doesn't have that feeling to it anymore. Like back in the days when Jim Johnson and Jimmy Hart would do it, it would have this feeling. And even if they did rap, it would you'd be like, Jim Johnson produced this. What does he know about DX or Run DMC or you know what I'm saying? But it was fire. And he had so many great talents. Now, you hear the rap songs now, and it's just it sounds very poppy, and it doesn't have that bang, that hit.
Right. And that's the one thing I've noticed about yours. It hits you from the bottom, and, that's yeah. We on the same page.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No doubt.
So, I have who, and I'm not trying to get you to call anyone out, but you thinking main roster or whatever, who do you think is in desperate need of new music?
Oh, man, sir, I'll keep that at 1,000, man. This is politics can't get to me, brother. Let's see. Where does this list begin? Thank God Dean Ambrose left WWE and went to AEW because that music he had in WWE was terrible. That music was horrible. That car revving and stuff, oh my God. I never liked Seth Rollins' music, never did. I was like, there it is. There goes that menu music, WCW versus the World, 1995 music.
Yes.
On PlayStation 1. Who else? Surprisingly, Ricochet's music is not bad. It's very poppy, but it gets kind of annoying. Who else? Who else needs something? Who else is a solid name though, and they need something that just. Well, you know what you don't want.
What?
I don't mean to say it like this, but it's kind of I use a Eric Rowan for example. And I'm not saying he's a big star or anything, but you notice when he comes out, and maybe it's just because of him or the music, but it garners no reaction. You want your music to garner a reaction. He just comes out with the thing with the little Ziploc thing he has in his hand right now, and nobody, like, it has no pop to it, so everybody's like, oh, okay, this guy. You know what I'm saying?
And I think, like, what happens with it is a lot of it is based on Pavlovian responses. So if they don't get that response that catches on right away, it's like they're just going to be stuck with that music and coming out like, oh, here I am. Like,
absolutely. And that's the worst thing you want to feel. Like, you don't want to feel like your music, you just don't want to feel stuck. You don't want to feel like your music is just you're kind of just there. You know what I mean? And you want to be able to have something that pops to the people. Like still to this day, Brock Lesnar's music, when you hear that, you know what time it is. Like, you know what's coming. And that's what it needs. The music always used to be a direct reflection of the person. When you hear Bret Hart's music, when you heard Stone Cold, The Rock, it adds so much to the character of Batista or Triple H. Nowadays the music doesn't really reflect the people anymore. It doesn't. A few people it does, like maybe a Kevin Owens, like a Bray Wyatt now. Even Chris Jericho with the Fozzy music, like even that, it signifies to him, so it sounds good. It sounds good to who that person is. Private Party has some dope music. Who else? Shout out to my boys LAX. Bodega Bands made their theme song. I don't necessarily think that's a theme song because it doesn't really garner a reaction, but they're so loyal to BAMS and that Puerto Rican fan base that it kind of makes sense. But it goes that edge, like, but it matches who they are. It's not really reaction music, like to garner a reaction. It's kind of just like a rap song that plays, but it's good for what that street image that they're going for. So,
no doubt. Yeah, man. I think you couldn't go wrong with asking for music for Cesaro, like always.
Oh yeah, he never got him right. Got him right.
I've been begging for Roman to have a new theme since he left the Shield. It's just
Roman. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest ones, and I think they're so attached to that Shield like aesthetic for him that they'd never do it. But I think Roman with something like what you did for Sammy Guevara would be like, it just with a little bit like more high energy for Roman would be incredible.
Yeah, I was say I think I've been saying he needed to get his fixed, and I heard the song Roman Reigns. I guess that was like your first one, and I was like, oh my God, they could, man. I was like, this could be it, just because his theme is just so like old. It's just old. It's stale. His whole act is stale, but his theme music needs to change like yesterday. I was listening last night. Like earlier, I was like, they need to fix it. But
man. I don't know. I pushed very hard for them to use it. It wasn't something else in their plans, and I feel like even if it's not mine, if they just tweak it or do something, because it's synonymous with the group, and you kind of don't want. What you never wanted was someone to use the same music that they were in a stable. You know what I mean? That same exact music when they were in a stable, because it's not going to change anything. And it looks the same. His gear hasn't changed much. You know what I'm saying? So it's just been a lot of the same. So I totally understand what you're saying.
All right, yeah. Let's see. I wrote down a whole bunch of questions. You got anything, Rich? While I'm trying to think?
Yeah. What was it like? Like you're saying you're from the you live in St. Pete, and just doing more research on you. You've done. Like when he's saying that he has a resume, right? He's not lying. You've done a theme for Tampa Bay Pro Wrestling, which is a promotion I attend quite frequently. What's up to Dax to Axe, and all the folks out there in Troy Hollywood and all those guys, and just from top to bottom, I think what you do is really dope, because I do a lot of that stuff myself. I rap, I make beats, different stuff like that. And I just want to tell you, it's like a real recognized real moment right now for me.
Thank you, bro. To start to my man Troy Hollywood, I got to say one thing. I am working on the podcast. My it's only going to be a visual podcast called Teasy's Table, and he is on the panel with Snoop Strikes.
Oh, and, what up, Snoop?
We're talking all things music, and I definitely got to holler at you because I want to get you and definitely get you involved in something. But just being able to make music for these promotions, and being involved in that, man, I definitely appreciate that. Because I feel like it almost becomes a thing where people just try to do it, like we said earlier, and it doesn't have that feel. Us as grown men and as wrestling fans, we have some of the best senses when we know it's not meant for someone. It's like, nah, bro, this wrestling thing ain't meant for you.
Right.
Or being involved in wrestling isn't meant for you. We can sense it in a matter of seconds. You know what I mean? So for someone to understand that, and you being not only a wrestling fan but someone who is a musician as well, I definitely take credence to people's opinion like that, because you don't have to say that. So I definitely appreciate that, man. And shout out to Tampa Bay Pro Wrestling. Shout out to all the markets in the Florida area, the guys that's coming up, Troy Hollywoods, the Snoops, the Kiko Harrises, all the guys who are really, really grinding and making a name for themselves. So I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Like what you're doing is so important. Like not only like you mentioned earlier, they wrestling for so long, it's like a big heavy metal and stuff like that. And I think the work you're doing, like stuff with the Sammy theme, the Cody stuff, and some of the aesthetic that AEW's like wrapped itself in, as far as like some of the transition music. I remember being at Fyter Fest and they were playing some trap beats or whatever in between the transitions and stuff like that. I think that's so needed to like just give this thing like a fresh coat of energy rather than, and there's nothing wrong like with the heavy metal and all that, but it's like, yo, I've heard that my whole life. Like there's so much more out there. And and I think the further you go, like the more it's going to open it up for more people, because as you mentioned, like with Josiah and a couple other people, like it's there, like and all it takes is like a couple of the big companies to really invest. And I think NXT did a good job with that, with bringing Josiah in. And I'm looking at AEW right now and I'm like, all right, I know Mikey Ruckus, like he follows me on Twitter, like I'm like in his mentions all the time, like what's up, like we out here, like you're out there, like there's something bubbling, and I think that it's gonna be a matter of time before stuff starts to like really start moving.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to Josiah, shout out to Mikey. Me and Mikey have actually gotten to know each other and done good business actually for the Sammy. So he looked out for me in many ways, and shout out to him. And I think this is what I think. I think that with WWE tapping into that market and being smart enough to, with Josiah, going viral and remixing people's themes and finding his lane, finding his spot in wrestling and in hip hop and wrestling. And a person like myself who's made it this far in just original music, which is it's a lot harder. But the thing about it is, man, once you have it and you get there, it's a beautiful thing, man. I think AEW, with either as Mikey or myself, like I get tweets all the time, and I'm putting this on your guys' wonderful podcast. Sammy said it himself. AEW, y'all need to bring me out there and do this live for him when the time is right. Because I'm telling you, I agree. Tear that place down. I get that opportunity. I am tearing that arena down.
Man,
and Tony, cut the check.
Yes.
Fly my dog out.
That's what I'm saying. Cut the check, man. You know what I mean? You guys got it. That TNT money. You know what I mean?
It's long. It's real long.
Fly brother out. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing I'm really, really hoping for. There's two things I'm really hoping to do that's left on my bucket list. There's And the shot in the dark is getting my voice on the WWE theme. I believe it's going to happen some way, shape, or another. But it's really, doing Wale Mania, which is a lot of ways in the cards, and really, really performing live. But what I really want to do, the number one thing on my list is to perform live at AEW. And I believe whether it's through Swole's, but I believe Sammy's is going to be it because that debut first, and he's really pushing for it. Sammy really wants it to happen. So I believe that, with him having some pull in the company and being one of the top guys in the company already, with him pulling for it, and when it's the right time, I shot the video. The video's been out for a month, and I've been pushing, the song by itself too, along with Cody. And as long as I get people, I start doing these songs like a Jericho or Jimmy Havoc, and I put these songs out like every couple of weeks. And these wrestlers, some of the wrestlers already know who I am. I'm real tight with Eva Bates and Nyla Rose. Those are my personal friends. So to see them now, to put out these songs and get the higher ups to know who I am too, it's all going to work in my favor. It's all strategy, man. All strategy.
No doubt, man. Yeah, like you just gotta put it out. You never know who's gonna hear it. Like I was listening to Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Like Sammy Guevara was wrestling on the NWA 70 show, and he didn't know Chris Jericho was gonna be watching. And what did that lead to? That led to Jericho, when he was involved, with signing on. He's like, why don't we get that Sammy Guevara guy? Like, and it's like you never know who's gonna see it. So let's keep putting it out, man.
Yeah, I like with me. I didn't know you. I just saw Cody put out, and I was like. Then I went down the YouTube rabbit hole. I'm like, dude, talented. You are very, very talented. I was like, it was like immediately hit my soul type of music. Like, okay, I can listen to this. I put my wife. She didn't even like rap like that, and she was like, this is good. This is good. So I got to tell you, definitely feeling your music. But I did want to get through before I let you go. I want to talk about your wrestling journey just a little bit. When did you start watching wrestling? How did all of this evolve to where you are today, as far as the wrestling side?
Great question. As I previously said, I'm 31, still young, black, and handsome. I still got some years left in me. So it started in 1992. I was 5, and my first pay-per-view I remember watching was WrestleMania 8. Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper, which is one of my favorite matches of all time. Ric Flair versus Macho Man. What else was matches was on there? Tito Santana versus Shawn Michaels. Undertaker versus Jake the Snake. I feel like, I do segue. There's 2 heel runs that I'm a big fan of that doesn't get his credit. It's Jake the Snake's heel run in 91, 92 when he was doing the thing with Macho Man and bit him with the snake and everything. God, I love that Jake the Snake. I love it. I love that sadistic Jake. And I love Hollywood Rock too. 03 Hollywood Rock. Oh, I love that. But so that's when I started watching wrestling, and my journey it hooked. My granddad at the time got me onto wrestling. He used to put it on, and I got hooked by it. My wrestling journey has been like I've watched all the eras. I've seen the Stone Colds and Rocks in their prime. I've seen the Batista and Cena era. I've seen the now era of the Daniel Bryans and the Roman Reigns, and I've seen these generations change. I remember flicking back and forth in the 90s between Goldberg and Austin on WCW. Like, I remember them days flicking channels. It still, messes with me now, the fact that when wrestling's on Wednesdays, I still get to flick channels again. It does something to my soul because I'm not used to that anymore. I have to get conditioned to flicking channels back and forth again. Even though I'm more watching the All Elite side unless my bro Swerve is on NXT, then I'll switch and watch the match. But outside of that, I'm really sick in the AEW because I like what they're doing. So my journey has been that, man. Bret Hart is my GOAT. That's my favorite. Do I feel like he's my favorite? Do I think he's the overall GOAT? No. But is he my GOAT for my favorite taste? Yes. I believe my personal opinion is Ric Flair. But Bret Hart is my favorite wrestler of all time. So I grew up on Bret Hart. I had the shades, I had the pajamas, I had all the wrestling figures. I had everything growing up. I had a Titantron in the late 90s. You know, and now I always knew that I wanted to be a part of it. I just knew I didn't have the physical gifts to be a part of it. So, you know, that's when I got into the music thing and tried to get involved. Now I'm doing commentary for some indie promotions, doing some commentary for NGW in Tennessee, GCW here in the Tampa Bay area. I do spot commentary sometimes to build my skills up. I'm having so much fun doing that because it gives me something to do outside of just making themes for people. Believe it or not, and I thank you guys for the compliments on you believing that I'm talented, but, you know, you do the same thing over and over again, it kind of gets redundant, you know, and you kind of have to have new challenges. I believe in, like, the Jericho mindset where you constantly have to reinvent yourself. And the one thing I can give Jericho a big shout out on is that he'll reinvent something before it gets stale. Like he is spot on the money with that, on being able to, like, whether it's the list or the Le Champion thing now, by the time Le Champion gets tired in probably 6 months to a year, he'll already have something else. Amazing. But being able to, you know, watch these guys and now reinvent myself in wrestling, now that I'm involved in the business and knowing all the wrestlers and stuff like that, and being able to reinvent myself, being around for 6 years, it's fun. So becoming a fan, watching Bret Hart's and the Owen Harts, rest in peace to Owen, and the Goldbergs, the DDPs, and the Stings, to now being in the business at this age, you know, and being involved in the music part of things, and now commentary, and it means a lot to me. So I'm thankful for this journey, man.
Hell yeah, man.
All right, yeah. Ric Flair, the GOAT. Bret Hart, your GOAT. Yeah. When I think about it, you started. You're a few years younger than me, but when you started wrestling is when I honestly can say when I went from, like, liking wrestling to loving wrestling. Is that WrestleMania 8, 9, and as we get, because I was in middle school, heading towards high school. So, Rich, what else you got? You got anything else? Because that was my major question.
Yeah,
I got nothing but time, man. I got nothing but time, man. Ask me, I'm here.
So, like, who actually does, like, a lot of your production? Do you, like, dabble in that side of it too, or?
I'm kind of like the Diddy in a way, or like a DJ Khaled in a way. I'm not trying to lower my skills here. No disrespect to them, but I'm saying that, you know, I'm kind of the guy that has the ear, but I'm not necessarily making the beats. I have a team of producers who I go to that knows my sound, and a lot of these guys have made music for a lot of the bigger names that you hear now in the industry. Some you might be fans of, some not, but bigger names in the industry. But when they come to my sound, like, they kind of tailor make something for me, and I kind of pick through things, and I kind of pick the abstract records. The beautiful thing that I like about it, man, and the one thing I will say is that I could give myself credit for. I don't like to pat myself on the back a lot, but I try to be relatively humble. But the thing I do believe, and I'm very proud of myself on, is that I've been able to do wrestling music, and I've not had to lyrically or morally stop what I'm doing to change what I'm doing, you know, within my morals, or I can still come up with witty bars or a witty line, or pick up, like, some very abstract beats, and I don't have to change who I am just to conform to an audience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt, man.
And I can still do what I want to do within my core, my soul, without having to worry about, you know, oh, I can't write this kind of record for this, or they might not listen to this in this market. Or the wrestling music, I just sit back. I just pick the right beats. I pick the right beats, and I just, like, pick what is, you know, what is core to my soul and what I like to do. So when I'm listening to beats, man, it just has to be something that I feel, you know, within my heart that is gonna, you know, relatively create, you know, hit the audience, because you have to pick something that the audience is gonna vibe to. And I think that people who do theme music or hip hop, you know, that is something that is very, very important. You have to pick music that, you know, a Caucasian 35-year-old male, or a older lady in her 40s, or a young kid who's 12 years old can all play together. And that's the kind of beats that I try to pick, that, you know, even you might favor some of them more than others, but you can say, you know what, as far as the beat selection, is very smart. And I got a lot of hit ups after that Sammy Guevara song, and they were like, "Yo, man, you picked the right music for him because nobody has that there." And I'm glad I did it that way. So I appreciate that.
Totally agree. Like, and like the wrestling world, like when you're doing like the wrestling music, it's kind of like, as you mentioned, like the world is already set for you. All you have to do is like kind of summarize someone's character, and either you can kind of walk in a first person sense of that character, or you can just summarize like their backstory in the verse, and like all you got to do is pick the right beats, as you mentioned. For anybody, like, and would you say that would be like solid advice? Like if there was someone that was like trying to learn how to, you know, do kind of like autobiographical, like, or like wrestling music, like what kind of advice would you give them?
Great question. I would say my advice, honestly, my advice to that person would be first, you know your audience. You know your audience. I say that no matter what you do in the form of entertainment, is know your audience. Know that you're not just speaking to hip-hop fans in this. If you're a hip-hop artist, you know that you can make music and you're going to be doing to that hip-hop crowd. This, you're going to be speaking to every demographic, from the older males, the 50, 60-year-old males that are taking their, you know, that are grandkids, that have grandparents going to wrestling events with their kids and their grandkids. You know, you have to please the wrestler, the person you're making the song for. So you have to know that person. If I'm making songs for Sammy Guevara, it has to be flashy, but also it has to hit. It's something that can head nod that'll cater to him being in a younger 20s male from Texas. It has to have like a shining, like it almost has to be like, it has to be like a song that, you know, kind of brags about him, but it has to be something that the people can vibe to. If you you have to be very you have to know your audience. You have to know that it's an open demographic. Not everybody's gonna like it, and you have to, like any song, and you have to be, you know, it's very opinionated. I get tweets all the time, man, this song's great, or I get some other songs, nah, this song doesn't really fit. I get that all the time. It doesn't bother me because it's all relative. It's all opinionated. But, you know, my advice to anyone who wants to get into this, and I'm an open book to anyone, you know, I have no problem holding this. I'm not the kind of guy to hold the secrets. When I'm long and gone, I want this to flourish and continue. You know your audience. Know exactly who you're making a song for. Don't just, you know, take a song and then you don't know how to speak for that person. When I write the wrestling songs, I try to speak about the person as if they were a rapper. And It's not about me. You know, it's not about me. I've kind of formulated now my own way of like writing about myself, but still having it in the form of the wrestler, so it relates to me and him at the same time. It takes some practice to doing. You know, writing about another grown person and speaking for them, and writing outside of yourself and what you want to say for that person. Like the Cody record, for example, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is no lie, and I'm always 100% honest with my fans and people who likes the record. I had the beat, right? So the same day that I recorded that song, I was in my house and I was just listening to some beats, and that beat came on. It was through an ad on YouTube. I'm like, yo, that beat is crazy. So I hit up the producer, and we worked out an agreement. And so I booked studio time, and I'm literally driving to the studio. I wrote that song on the way to the studio. Not even
Yeah, man. Like, there's nothing like that writing while you're driving, because A, it's dangerous, and B, like, your brain is working super fast, especially when you're inspired. So, I wouldn't recommend, you know, novices do that.
yeah, please don't. Yeah, please. You're absolutely right. Hey, man, I'm an advocate to anyone out there. Drive safe. You know what I'm saying? Drive safe. You know, but you know, I'm kind of sometimes like the last minute guy with my writing. I write everything in the studio sometimes. I'm not the kind of, I used to write everything before I went there, which is kind of a smarter way to do it. But now that I've gotten like more experience in the game, I can kind of I can do like last minute take, even though it's not the greatest thing to do sometimes. Like if I'm working on a professional album, I don't do that. But sometimes like the new album that me and Isaiah Swarscott are working on, we're really taking our time with it. And we really are taking our time. Like we're going to studio for 4 hours to do one song. Like we really take our time. But my writing process, like I'm like spur of the moment. I'll like, hey man, I want to book the session tomorrow. I want to come and record. And I'll go to the studio and I'll have like the Jericho song I just finished. Like I just did it. I'm probably gonna record it in the next couple of days. Like that'll probably be out right after Swole's song is out. I'll drop the Judas Effect song, and I'm just gonna put it out there and just keep feed the content. There's power in content. Last thing I'll say directly to answer that question, guys, if you're gonna get into wrestling music, content is key. Content is key. Put out your wrestling music. Put it out there. Tag the wrestlers. Come up with creative ways. If you see someone else has done a Cody song, for example, like myself, if you're a rapper, find another way to do it. And there's still many other ways you can rap about Cody Rhodes and do it your way. I'm not saying I'm the only person that can do it. No, if you're an artist and you want to do a Cody song, find a different kind of beat or something that is different from mine. Make it more rap oriented, like a Run DMC would do or something like that. Make it your own if you do it that way. And just, and even if you talk about the same thing, just say it in a different way. So, it's all possible, man. There's just a certain formula, I believe, if you're doing wrestling music on how to do it. And, look out for that Judas Effect record coming soon, too. I'm definitely dropping that soon for Jericho.
Can't wait for that. I was
going to say, definitely tag Social Suplex or All Things Elite on it. We'll get it out there. We'll get everybody to listen to it if we can.
Oh, you already know, man. I look at everyone as like networking, man. Let's all network, and let's continue to build a friendship, a relationship, man. And let's work, man. Let's get this music out to the masses. Anything that I can do. When I'm on the I'm recording Monday. I'm on the Swerve City podcast. We have the Lucha House Party on the podcast, and I'm gonna definitely shout you guys out. I'm gonna get all your info after this, and I'm on the next podcast that went live. I'm definitely gonna get you guys the social medias and shout out you guys. And I'll say all Elite on that podcast. Ain't nothing they do to me. I'm not signed, so I'll say it on that. and for sure, I'll definitely shout you guys out and show you guys love for everything you guys are doing. I did my research as well, saw what you guys are doing, and you guys jumped on it early. And doing this early, jumping on it early is the best thing because, you can build relationships early. That's why I want to be the first to make these songs for these people and push it out there. So it's like, okay, Teasy did it. Now it's like, okay, we're going to see if we could do it better than what he did. So, right. Set the bar, and then if somebody does it better, tip your cap to them. They made it, and salute them and keep it moving. But you guys keep pushing with your podcast just because everybody thinks that's just something that they want to do. If you guys have a passion for this podcast and broadcasting, you guys continue to do that. I'll fully support everything you guys got going on. I'll be retweeting. I'll be showing love to you guys and what you guys going on and guys got going on. And keep pushing, and don't stop recording, man. Just keep learning and keep putting out that content. It's power and content.
Well, I'm gonna have to get this man on the song. Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be in Tampa for WrestleMania weekend, of course, with Rich and Social Suplex Q. So hopefully we can meet up, and I can get to meet you, and just kick it for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Hey man, let's I'll get in touch with you guys. Let's all meet up for lunch or something. Let's all during WrestleMania weekend. Let's meet up for lunch and trade ideas, network, and see what we could do to accentuate all our talents. I believe there's power in networking. I don't care how big, small, whatever you are. There's always someone can always have added value to what you all can provide. We all can put our connections together, and let's build. Let's not have this be a one-time interview thing. We got each other social medias. I'll make sure we all exchange numbers, and let's continue to build something that is, let's build something that is that we can build an empire on and make this happen. And and see where we could take this. And I'm definitely looking forward to it outside of just this interview for sure. You guys are great guys.
Absolutely, and I will definitely thank you for your time. Rich, I'm going to throw you. Do you got one last good question to ask before we let him go for the day?
No, I don't. I think we've covered it. Pretty much.
Yeah,
but I just
say,
appreciate you jumping on here. Thanks for having me on, Floyd, and we'll definitely have to do this again or work together in some capacity. For sure, man.
Well, I definitely thank you for being on, Rich. You are the music man of Social Suplex, so I was I knew I had to. As soon as TZ agreed to do it, I was I gotta have Rich on this interview with me. I was like, he's gonna know the right questions to ask. So, So I thank you, and TZ, man, thank you for your time. I know it's early Saturday morning, and you did me a solid being on the show. We definitely appreciate you. Do you got anything you want to plug? I know about you said about Swerve City podcast that drops on Monday.
Actually, yeah, it drops. So what we do, man, on quickly Swerve City podcast, Twitter.com/Swerve City pod, Instagram the Swerve City podcast official. It's me, Big Swole, and Swerve. We do a podcast every other week. The beautiful thing about it is that we're just a podcast we're on our own niche over there, man. We're not involved in any of the politics and stuff like that. We all do our thing respectively. We're all a big family. And, make sure you guys, every other week we drop those episodes, sometimes Monday or Tuesday, but they drop every other Monday. So if we do this episode this Monday, it'll drop the following Monday. Subscribe to our Patreon, Swerve City Podcast. Me and Swerve are dropping our first debut album as a group, From Humble Beginnings. April 4th, NXT it'll be that Saturday night, the night before WrestleMania. Hopefully, it might be a Hall of Fame night, depending on what WWE does. Excuse me. It's going to be that night. So, be on the lookout for that. We have a big song coming out in January with one of the biggest members of a group from the independent artist standpoint. I will let you guys know off air who it is. But we have a feature coming out. We just dropped our single called I'm the Man. Check out that video. Cedric Alexander's in the video. Angelo Dawkins is in the video. Anthrone Brewer, the NXT referees in that video, I'm the Man. It's on YouTube now, Swerve City Podcast YouTube with me and Swerve in there. Those guys featured in the video. So, yeah, follow me at TZ Scott on everything social media, Twitter, Instagram. Follow me. Show your love. And if you're listening to this wonderful podcast, tweet AEW, Instagram AEW, and let's get this petition to get this live performance going. And I definitely want to push for that. Sammy Guevara Takes Flight Live will take over the world. So let's get that started.
I was about to say January 1st in Jacksonville sound good to me.
I'm saying, man, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, it sounds great, right?
You already gonna be there. They ain't even gotta fly you out. You make it real easy on them.
I'm saying, Cody, what's up, man? You know what I mean? Hey, holla at me. I'll do both songs. You know what I mean? Give me a
easy.
Give me a and by that time I'll have Jericho out. So let me get something. You know what I'm saying? Let me put me in the corner and let me do my thing. You know what I mean? Give me an AEW shirt and let me rock. You know what I'm saying? So, that's definitely it, man. I definitely appreciate you guys' time.
All right. Well, I definitely thank you. Thank you and Rich. Y'all have all the information. Make sure you go to their social medias and follow. Rich is on the Social Suplex, at Rich Latta, and at One Nation Radio, correct?
At Rich Latta 32.
At Rich Latta 32. Sorry about the number. But, yeah, you got all the information, of course, and follow us at AT Elite Pod on Twitter, and we'll get that out there. But just remember, I thank everyone for on. Music brings us all together. Love everything that you do, TZ. Love Rich, all the things you do for our show. Shows are just amazing. But just remember, no matter if it's homework or school, always do your best to be elite.
Sammy Guevara. This is my moment to shine. This is my time for flight. I've been grinding forever just for this very night. I've been pushing for many moments like this. This time is undervalued and no one ever could miss. This is my chance, moment of bliss. My feelings so enchanted. Many could understand it. These skills out of the planet.